This isn't a duel, it's a massacre waiting to happen. The Sword Saint, the strongest player in the country, just froze our MC in a domain that paralyzes his stats. He thinks he's hunting a rabbit, but look at the newbie's face. He isn't scared, he's smiling, because while the Saint is playing by the rules, our MC just hacked the admin console. The system realizes the fight is so unfair, it panics. It doesn't just help him, it breaks reality to balance the scales. It grants him emergency permission to steal the Saint's unique ability. Copying. Approved. In a single second, he didn't just survive. He hijacked the Saint's entire life work. The ultimate sword technique. It belongs to the newbie now. This is the difference between a pro and an anomaly. One plays by the rules, the other rewrites them, but before he was humiliating legends and breaking the laws of physics. Kang Jinhyuk was just a tired streamer, obsessed with the trash game that nobody else could beat. A trash game. It refers to a game that simply isn't fun, or is unbalanced, or has subpar administration, or has absurd difficulty. Our boy is sitting in the dark, the only light coming from the glowing screens of his massive gaming rig, his face partially hidden as he mutters those words with a weary sigh. Ugh, a trash game. He is looking at a screen that shows a lonely, low-resolution character standing in a deserted town square, the cobblestones looking cold and artificial under a digital sun. The virtual reality game, Tower of Trials, is in this category. When the game was first released, Korean gamers, whose hobby was to conquer the game before even the developers expected them to, got on the grind to conquer the game. We see them in their prime, a warrior in heavy silver plate armor holding a massive shield, and a mage in flowing robes with a glowing staff, charging into a blinding light of battle. It continued for 365 days a year, without eating or sleeping. But once 3 years had passed, people started realizing. They realized that the Tower of Trials is an unbeatable game. The images shift to show the absolute nightmare they faced. A massive blue slime, translucent and wobbling with a terrifying weight, has completely flattened a player into the stone floor, its simple black eyes staring blankly as it crushes the life out of them. Then we see the Gate Guardian, a terrifying figure in golden armor with jagged, obsidian-colored wings that spread out like a shadow of death. A golden halo of light hovers above its pointed helmet, and it holds a massive scythe that looks like it could reap the soul of the world itself. The Gate Guardian is practically invincible. The scene changes to the Arctic floor, a frozen hell of white and blue where the wind howls through jagged ice peaks. Players are shown frozen solid, their faces contorted in mid-scream, their bodies turned into brittle statues of ice. The Arctic's temperature is -60 degrees, which kills everyone within an hour. Then there is the Labyrinth, a sprawling, dizzying maze of gray stone walls and thick white fog that stretches out as far as the eye can see. It exceeds 10,000 square kilometers in size, a place where hope goes to die. A lone player with a long red braid stands on a high ledge, looking out over the impossible geometry of the maze, the scale of it enough to break any spirit. This game wasn't intended for fun. Rather, it was almost like torture for those who play it. A player is shown in their room, screaming in pure rage as they hurl their sleek, white and blue VR headset across the room. It skids across the floor, a piece of high-tech junk that represents thousands of hours of wasted life. Fuck this trash game. Afterwards, the game started declining. A graph appears on a screen, showing the monthly user count plummeting from 500 down to almost zero, the red bars getting shorter and shorter until they practically vanish into the baseline. To be exact, the game almost went under. The halls of the tower are shown empty and crumbling, a discarded potion bottle lying in the dust, its purple liquid long since evaporated and its glass cracked. There were still pros who didn't give up challenging this impossibly difficult game. And that brings us back to our guy, Jinhyuk. He is gasping for air, his mouth wide open as he sucks in oxygen, sweat pouring down his neck and soaking his tactical shirt. He is wearing a dark shirt with black straps across his chest, his black hair matted to his forehead with perspiration. A blue system window pops up in front of his tired eyes, glowing with a soft light. You have conquered floor 50. He stares at it, his expression a mix of shock and pure, raw exhaustion. Is this for real? He is holding a glowing blue dagger, its blade sharp and lethal, reflecting the dim, blue light of the boss room. It was simply fun. The sense of accomplishment that came after researching unknown ways to conquer the tower, and repeating it again and again until it became second nature to finally beat the level. We see a montage of his struggle, him leaping through the air with his dagger, him striking down a massive green monster with a single red eye and jagged teeth, him opening a heavy wooden treasure chest overflowing with gold coins and glowing red gems. It was enough for me to devote 11 years of my life to it. To think that I'd really clear the last floor. He stands in a massive, ruined hall with towering white pillars, the light of his achievement washing over him in a soft blue glow. Maybe I should have streamed this, he thinks with a small, self-deprecating laugh, his hand resting on his wounded arm. Haha. Or maybe I could upload this onto YouTube. Although it's a trash game, it might get some views. He reaches out a gloved hand to interact with a floating blue holographic interface. Thank you for playing our game until now. A reboot update is planned to happen in 12 hours, so please continue to enjoy the game after the update. Our boy looks confused, his brow furrowing as he reads the message. This is unexpected. They're doing a reboot update. Where did the company even get the money to do such a thing? Did they find an oil field in the middle of a desert or something? This really makes no sense. This game shouldn't be profitable for them. He crosses his arms, leaning back against a piece of rubble, his mind racing with questions. Oh well, they probably have their own thoughts about doing something like this. Even if this game is getting a reboot update, I don't intend on playing this game anymore. He is back in his room now, the real world, holding that same VR headset. He looks older, more tired, but there is a sense of finality in his eyes as he looks at the device. And I plan on quitting my job as a streamer and a YouTuber, which I have continued up until today. Although I don't have a family to support, I'm already 27 years old. I can't afford to continue living on an income of $500 a month. His room is a total mess, filled with stacks of monitors, empty soda cans, and black bags of trash piled in the corners. I should probably tell the gym owner that I won't be working out for a while. He walks over to the window, sliding it open to let in the cool night air. The moon is full and bright in a clear dark sky, hanging over the quiet apartment buildings and the city lights. People used to tell me that I should become a professional fighter, but right now, money is more important than fighting. The scene shifts to a live stream on a monitor. The chat is moving fast, a blur of text and icons. JJY77 says Jinha. Jinha. It means Jin Hai. Eagle Owl asks what's up today. You're early. Our boy is sitting in front of a massive spread of food, a true mukbang setup with pizza, fried chicken, and several cans of beer. He is wearing a white hoodie with black accents, smiling at the camera with a forced cheerfulness. Haha, he laughs, looking relaxed despite the mess behind him. The chat is loving it. Look at all the food he has, one viewer says. Mukbang Killer comments that he is the best mukbang streamer and that it is better than his game streams. Coffin Dance makes a joke about eating the stable door after the horse has been eaten. Unemployed Twitch viewer says eat before you leap. Once eaten, twice eat. Our boy's expression suddenly turns serious, the light from the monitors casting a deep shadow over his eyes. Hey guys, I have something I need to tell you. The chat starts guessing wildly. Happiness Circuit 2.0 asks why he is talking like that all of a sudden. Number 1 Chimpanzee asks if he is getting married or something. Boring Parrot just finds it boring. Our boy pauses, a small cup of soju in his hand, his eyes downcast. Nah, I just wanted to change up the way I talked as a joke. He puts on a goofy face and a high-pitched tone to deflect the tension. He takes a long drink, the liquid burning as it goes down. I should probably just post an announcement about me quitting tomorrow. He finishes the bottle, more empty green soju bottles sitting on the table next to the pizza boxes. He collapses onto his bed, still in his clothes, his arm hanging off the side in a state of drunken exhaustion. Ugh. Damn, my head, he groans the next morning, clutching his face as the bright sunlight streams into his room. He looks like a total wreck, his eyes dark with shadows and his hair messy. I should probably upload my Tower of Trials clear video. He reaches for the power button on his PC tower, his finger trembling slightly from the hangover. But as the computer whirs to life, he sees something that stops his heart. Ha! The news is everywhere, plastered across every site. The Tower of Trials actually became reality. A live broadcast shows a massive, dark stone tower rising out of the ground in the middle of a modern city, its top disappearing into the clouds. The viewer count on the stream is over 3 million and climbing. Our boy is frozen, a single bead of sweat rolling down his temple as he stares at the screen. The Tower of Trials became reality. He clicks on another link, his hands shaking. Wow, can you guys see that? You guys are watching, right? The footage is shaky and handheld, showing people in the streets looking up in absolute terror at the impossible structure. I only found out because Melon Watermelon reported it to me, but apparently, this is from a game called Tower of Trials that was released 11 years ago. The streamer is shouting, his mouth wide with a mix of excitement and pure fear. The chat is exploding with comments like holy lol it's huge and I saw this in Tower of Trials. Aguagumon asks why he is the only one who doesn't know about it. Heya, long time no see. Can you guys believe this? Ha, hold on a second. The sky on the screen suddenly turns a deep, menacing crimson. Isn't this bad? Kohahak. Damn, it's so red, someone comments. Is this for real? LOL, this is crazy. What time is it right now? Is that a sunset? Our boy is staring at the screen, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. How could this be? This is the sign of beginnings in the Tower of Trials. A blue system window suddenly appears in the real world, floating right in front of his face in his messy room. What is this? Tower of Trials reboot version. First update has been completed. Everyone, please clear the next floor of the tower within 90 days. The message is clear and terrifying, glowing with an otherworldly light. The image shifts to the city again, the red sky casting a bloody glow over the skyscrapers and the massive tower. If you fail, humanity will perish. The words hang in the air like a death sentence for the entire species. People are screaming, running in every direction as the reality of the situation sinks in. A man with glasses points at a floating blue screen in total shock, his mouth agape. A mother clutches her child as they stare at the sky in disbelief. Our boy isn't panicking like the rest of them. He kicks his chair back, the heavy gaming seat thudding onto the floor. He stands in the middle of his room, the blue light of the system window illuminating his determined face. He looks at his hands, then at the blue jacket hanging on the wall. I need to cool my head off. If the Tower of Trials has really become reality, I can't be here wasting time like this. I need to hurry. He grabs his blue jacket, swinging it over his shoulders with a sharp, determined movement. He isn't the failed streamer anymore. He is the only man on Earth who has seen the top of that tower. He sprints out of his apartment, his feet pounding against the pavement as he ignores the chaos around him. To the place where I can get that item. He knows exactly where to go, his mind already calculating the steps. The world might end, but despite that, my heart is beating in excitement. He is leaping down a flight of stairs, his body moving with a grace and speed he didn't know he possessed. He reaches Central City, where the chaos is at its peak. The red sky is filled with floating embers and the sound of sirens. What's the fastest train to Busan? A man in a brown suit screams into his phone, his face contorted with terror. Fuck, not even Busan's gonna cut it. We need to get out of Korea. Another man in a yellow jacket shouts, pointing towards the horizon with a desperate look in his eyes. Yeah, we need to go to another country to survive. A woman with glasses yells back, what are you talking about? That tower appeared in other countries too. She holds up a tablet showing news reports of towers appearing in every major city across the globe. Then where can we go? Wherever it is, it's not Seoul. Our boy is running past them all, a blue blur in the middle of the panicked crowd. If you stay here like an idiot, you'll die for sure. He isn't looking for an exit. He is looking for an entrance. He reaches the entrance to a subway station, the stairs leading down into the darkness. Now is not the time to retreat, but instead the time to charge in. He stares down into the depths of the station, his eyes sharp and focused. In the Korean server, this place was selected as an external zone. He knows the secrets that no one else does. He knows the hidden paths and the items that will give him the edge. While the rest of the world is looking for a way out, our boy is the only one brave enough to go in. He steps onto the escalator, his silhouette disappearing into the shadows as the red light of the dying world fades behind him. He passes under the sign for the Central Underground Strip Mall, the letters cold and metallic, reflecting the dim, bluish light of the fluorescent tubes that hum with an eerie energy. As he steps into the main plaza, a fountain stands silent and dry, its stone angels staring blankly at the chaos unfolding around them, their wings covered in a fine layer of dust and grime. Suddenly, a blue system window pings into existence, the holographic light reflecting off his determined face and casting a soft glow on his dark hair. You are now entering an event zone. The message is a warning and an invitation all at once. The air is thick with tension, smelling of ozone and old concrete, and the few people scattered around the mall are on edge, their eyes darting around like cornered animals looking for a way out or a way up. Our boy stands there, his hands buried deep in his pockets, looking completely unfazed by the madness, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the panic rising in the hearts of those around him. The people here, he thinks, his eyes scanning the crowd, are all people who have played the beginning of the Tower of Trials. They are the ones who stayed, the ones who grinded, the ones who know that the world they once knew is gone forever. They are all glaring at each other, the silence heavy with suspicion and a hunger for power that is almost palpable. That is natural, I guess, he muses, his gaze landing on a group of players huddled near a closed storefront. The item that will soon appear is limited in quantity, a prize that only the strongest or the smartest can claim. If we are lucky, we might get 5 at most, he calculates, his mind already several steps ahead of everyone else in the room. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the silence, dripping with a fake, oily friendliness that makes our boy's skin crawl. You are Kong Jin-hyuk, right? Our boy turns his head slightly, his expression hardening into a mask of indifference as he sees a man with wavy brown hair and a smug, punchable face approaching him. It really is you, Kong Jin-hyuk. The bastard is wearing a sharp black suit that looks expensive and out of place, looking like he just stepped out of a boardroom instead of a world-ending apocalypse. Wow, you came here as well. I mean, you did do nothing but play this game all day, holed up in your room. This simpleton is Lee Jong-soo, a partnered streamer on Paprika TV with 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. In other words, he is a really popular streamer, a man who built an empire on the backs of others, but to our boy, he is just a piece of trash that needs to be taken out. And at the same time, he was the CEO of the company I was a part of. Jin-hyuk remembers, the bitterness of past betrayals rising in his throat like bile. Jin-hyuk looks at him with pure disgust, his voice cold as ice and sharp as a razor. Isn't it time for one of your scheduled streams? Jong-soo just smirks, his eyes narrow and calculating, showing no remorse for the lives he ruined. With things like this, what does streaming even do for me? He clenches his fist, his ego radiating off him in waves, a dark aura of arrogance that fills the space between them. Anyways, what floor did you hit on this game? Come on, let's gather the secrets together, as former co-workers. Co-workers. The word tastes like poison in our boy's mouth, a reminder of the exploitation and the lies. He remembers the truth behind that company, the dark reality hidden behind the bright lights of the streaming world. His company tricked many streamers into a slave contract, binding them to terms that were impossible to fulfill. We see the images of the victims in his mind, a man in a purple hoodie eating chicken while looking exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep, a girl with cat ears laughing for the camera while a gray cat sits in her lap, her smile never reaching her eyes. The more they streamed, the more money they would lose, a vicious cycle designed to keep them trapped and desperate. Their voices were silenced under the powerful and large voices of the company's lawyers, a wall of legal jargon and intimidation that no one could break through. We see a man with glasses, tears streaming down his face and a single drop of snot hanging from his nose, his hands trembling over his keyboard as a bottle of soju sits nearby, half empty and forgotten. He reaches out, his hand gripping a webcam with a white-knuckle grip, and rips the USB cord out with a final, desperate movement, a silent scream against the machine that consumed him. The contract lies on the floor, a crumpled piece of paper that represents ruined lives and broken dreams. So my closest friends that I had been together with since the beginning, had left the industry, driven out by the greed of men like Jong-soo. Back in the present, Jong-soo puts a hand on our boy's shoulder, his touch feeling like a snake sliding over skin, his smile wider and more disgusting than ever. I know you are a great gamer, and you do mukbang streams pretty well. I will rewrite your contract so we can be on better terms. How is that sound? Lee Jong-soo. Our boy says his name like a death sentence, his voice low and dangerous. The world has changed, he thinks, and the old rules no longer apply. Suddenly, with a burst of raw power and speed that catches the bastard completely off guard, our boy slams his forehead into the bastard's face. A massive blue sound effect, pack, fills the air as the impact echoes through the mall, the sound of bone hitting bone. Jong-soo is sent reeling, his head snapping back as blood sprays from his nose in a crimson arc, staining his expensive white shirt. Tears and snot leak from his eyes as he gasps for air, his hands clutching his shattered face in agony. Don't talk to me like you are my friend, you motherfucker. Our boy growls, his eyes burning with a cold, righteous fury. Jong-soo spits out a tooth, the white enamel clattering onto the floor next to a dark, spreading splash of blood. Burk. He groans, his body trembling as he collapses to his knees, his world spinning out of control. That felt great, our boy thinks, standing over the pathetic heap of a man, the satisfaction of revenge sweet on his tongue. It should be about time the item comes out, our boy thinks, turning his back on the groveling bastard and looking toward the center of the plaza. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble, a deep rumble that vibrates through the soles of his shoes. The fountain is obliterated as a massive, gnarled tree trunk erupts from the floor, the sound of stone shattering like glass filling the air. Whoa, it's a mangrove. People are shouting in awe and terror, their voices a cacophony of confusion. It is the mangrove of greed, a legendary entity from the tower that has manifested in the real world. System windows pop up everywhere, glowing with an ominous light. The mangrove of greed has appeared. Fruits. The tree has fruits. People see the glowing red apples hanging from the branches, their surfaces shimmering with a tempting, otherworldly light that seems to call out to their deepest desires. Each of those delicious-looking fruits that are ripening right now, raises strength, agility, health and magic stats, a shortcut to power that most would kill for. It is a good item for sure, but our boy narrows his eyes, his gaze sharp as a hawk, seeing the danger that others ignore. There are only 4 fruits total, and the competition is about to turn lethal. The crowd goes wild, the thin veneer of civilization stripping away in an instant. People are lunging for the tree, their faces twisted with desperation and greed. It's mine. Move. Don't make me laugh. It's mine. They are pulling each other's hair, shoving, and screaming as they try to climb the thick, dark roots that are slick with moisture. Fuck. One man is sent flying as a vine lashes out like a whip, the impact sounding like a gunshot. Our boy stands back, watching the carnage with a cold, analytical stare, his mind recording every movement and every mistake. Most people don't even know about the fruit, he thinks, watching them struggle. Those that have played the game a few times will focus on getting the fruit, but they are missing the bigger picture. Suddenly, the tree reacts to the intrusion. A massive, booming sound effect, cool, shakes the very foundations of the mall, the sound of an ancient hunger being awakened. The branches whip around with impossible speed, sending players flying through the air like ragdolls, their bodies slamming into walls and pillars with sickening thuds. Jiangsu is back on his feet, wiping the blood from his mouth with the back of his hand, his eyes burning with a mix of fear and an insatiable greed that even a broken nose can't dampen. Are you giving up? He asks, looking at our boy with a desperate hope for an edge. Obviously, I don't want to die here like that. Our boy lies through his teeth, his expression unreadable, his voice calm and steady. Really, that's a shame. The real prize of this event can only be obtained once you eat all the fruit. Our boy drops the bombshell, and he can see the gears turning in the bastard's head, the lure of ultimate power too strong to resist. Are you serious? If I wasn't, why would I still be standing here? Our boy looks him dead in the eye, his gaze piercing through the bastard's facade. Jiangsu hesitates, his mind racing as he weighs the risk against the reward. I was wondering why he wasn't going after the fruits. So that was why. I don't know the details, but it seems like a nice opportunity. The bastard smirks, his greed finally outweighing his fear, his ego convincing him that he can succeed where others have failed. So let's say you are telling me the truth. What are you suggesting we do? We gotta dive in. Our boy says, his voice firm and commanding. If we move one by one, we will be easy targets for the tree's defenses. So we need to charge from opposite sides at the same time, splitting its attention. So you want to distract it? Yep. Our boy stands ready, his body coiled like a spring, his eyes locked on the mangrove. Remember, if even one of us hesitates, we both die. Don't worry, I have played plenty of this game as well. Jiangsu says, his eyes fixed on the prize, completely unaware that he is being played by the Max-Level Newbie. Our boy smirks, a cold, dark expression that promises nothing but chaos. Our boy doesn't wait for a signal. His foot slams into the cracked concrete with a sharp pat sound effect, sending a shockwave through the dust. He lunges forward, a blur of blue and black, his movements perfectly optimized for maximum speed. Jiangsu follows, his face twisted in a mix of greed and terror as they charge toward the massive, gnarled roots of the tree. The mangrove reacts instantly, sensing the intruders. Massive, thick roots erupt from the floor with a deafening quack sound, shattering the stone like it was made of glass. The ground trembles, and the air is filled with the smell of damp earth and ancient magic. Our boy is moving like a ghost, weaving through the chaos with impossible grace. He looks back for a split second, his eyes narrowing as he watches the bastard struggling to keep up. What about Li Jiangsu? He muses, his mind already 3 steps ahead of the trap he has set. The bastard Jiangsu is screaming now, his voice cracking with panic as the vines lash out at him. You stupid idiot, he yells, his face contorted with rage. Who would trust your words? He thinks he is the one in control, even as he tries to push ahead. Go ahead and be bait, the bastard sneers, showing the gap in his teeth where our boy previously smashed his face in. He thinks he is using our boy, but Jinhyuk just smirks, a cold, dark expression that promises a brutal end. I'm so glad, our boy thinks, his eyes glowing with a predatory light. You haven't changed. You are still the same predictable trash. A massive vine, thick as a bridge pillar, sweeps across the plaza with a thunderous whoosh. Our boy drops low, his body skimming the floor as the wood whistles inches above his head. He knows the mechanics of this boss better than the developers themselves. The one who is the bait, he thinks, his gaze locking onto the bastards retreating back, is you the person who is standing further away. It is a basic aggro mechanic that the simpleton Jiangsu never bothered to learn. A sharp pack sound echoes through the mall as a vine snatches Jiangsu right out of the air. The bastard's eyes bulge as the wood wraps around his waist, squeezing the air from his lungs. He is hoisted into the air, his limbs flailing uselessly. Ugh, he screams, the sound echoing off the closed storefronts. More vines swarm him, wrapping around his arms and legs with a sickening quack sound. He is completely trapped, a sacrificial lamb offered to the mangrove. Our boy doesn't even slow down. He runs right past the groveling bastard, his boots clicking against the floor. Help! Jongsu cries out, tears and snot streaming down his face as he realizes the depth of his mistake. Our boy looks back over his shoulder, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated indifference. Why should I? He asks, his voice cutting through the bastard's screams like a razor. If you have a problem, take it to court with those lawyers of yours. It is the ultimate payback for the lives this man ruined with his slave contracts. Jongsu is sobbing now, his world ending in the grip of a monster. No, I don't want to die, he wails, but the mangrove has no mercy. Blood sprays in a crimson arc with a wet pusic sound as the vines tighten their hold. Goodbye, you piece of shit, our boy says, his voice a final death sentence as he turns his back on the trash for good. Now, the real work begins. Our boy focuses all his attention on the tree, his eyes scanning the patterns of the thrashing branches. Tat, his feet hit the ground in a rhythmic dance of death. He is calculating every variable in real time. 22 degrees from the left, he notes, his head tilting just enough to let a spiked vine graze his hood. 35 degrees from the right, he calculates, spinning midair to avoid a crushing blow. Dodging isn't hard, he thinks, his expression bored as he treats a world-ending event like a simple tutorial. He grabs a jagged piece of a broken branch, using it to parry the incoming strikes. The sound of wood grinding against wood, quagagak, fills the air as sparks of mana fly from the impact. He is pushing deeper into the heart of the mangrove, his eyes locked on the prize. All right, finally, he whispers, his gaze landing on a glowing red orb nestled deep within the main trunk. The core of the mangrove has revealed itself. It pulses with a dark, hungry light, the source of all the tree's power. It's exactly the same as what I experienced in the game, he remembers, the memories of 1,000 playthroughs guiding his hands. Yeah, finding out the exact angles the attacks come from and manipulating the attacks to my advantage is the difficult part, he muses, his mind a whirlwind of strategy. He holds the wooden stake tight, his knuckles white. Let's not trouble each other, he says to the tree, his voice calm despite the carnage surrounding him. Why don't you hand over the tree orb? The mangrove responds with a roar of rustling leaves and cracking wood. This is an event mob, he explains to the empty air, so it doesn't even give experience. All it does is give you a spot in the Hall of Fame at best. But for our boy, that is more than enough. The tree enters its second phase, its aura turning a deep, bloody red. A system window flashes. The mangrove of greed uses the skill vampiric vines. The air turns cold as hundreds of thin, needle-like vines carpet the floor, moving like a wave of snakes. Even though I am a Nullifer, I can't dodge all that, he admits, his eyes narrowing. However, he doesn't need to dodge. He lunges forward, his stake leading the way. Tat! He deflects the needles with surgical precision. Deflecting the attacks is still definitely doable, he shouts over the roar of the boss. He is a storm of motion, a masterclass in combat. There's no need to be scared, he tells himself, his heart rate steady and slow, and no reason to be afraid. He is almost at the core. Almost there, he cries out, his hand reaching for the glowing red heart. Suddenly, the tree releases its final defense. Glowing blue butterflies erupt from the leaves, their wings shimmering with a beautiful but deadly light. Patadak, the sound of 1,000 wings fills the plaza. Our boy instantly covers his nose and mouth with his sleeve. Sleep butterflies, he hisses. They are monsters who spread sleeping powder as a defense mechanism. It's easy to get done in if you don't take countermeasures against breathing in the powder. He watches as the blue dust settles over everything, a silent killer. It's simple to counter though, he smirks behind his arm. Just holding your breath suffices. He takes one last deep breath, his lungs burning as he makes his final move. He lunges through the cloud of blue death, his body a streak of blue light. Sayuk, he cuts through the air, his stake aimed directly at the pulsing red core. The tree thrashes in a final, desperate attempt to stop him, but it is too late. It's something I've repeated many times before, he thinks, the satisfaction of the kill already washing over him. With a final, thunderous quacking, he slams his weapon into the orb, the red light exploding into a million fragments as the Max-Level Newbie claims his throne. The air is thick with the smell of ozone and splintered wood as our boy stands victorious. A massive red sound effect tears through the frame, signaling the end of the mangrove of greed. Jin-hyuk looks focused, sweat beading on his forehead as the giant tree splits down the middle. A blinding white light erupts from the core, illuminating the dark plaza. He looks up, a small smirk playing on his lips. Our boy thinks about how all that painful research into patterns and timing is finally paying off in the real world. He is feeling unexpectedly thankful for everything he has done so far. The system pings with a blue window, announcing that he is the first to defeat this monster. His achievements will be recorded in the Hall of Fame for the entirety of tomorrow. The system demands his personal information, but our boy is too smart for that. He knows the vultures will circle if they find out a former top player is back. I don't have a name, he tells the system, it will all be confidential. He refuses to release his personal info. The system compromises, telling him his face will be covered with a mosaic and his voice will be changed. Have it your way, he thinks, this is more important right now. He reaches into the glowing fissure of the tree trunk. His hand disappears into the light. With a sharp tug, he pulls out a shimmering green sphere. I finally got it, he shouts, his eyes wide with triumph. He clenches his fist around the prize. The system confirms it, he has obtained the tree essence, the tree orb. This thing is a literal cheat code. If each fruit increases strength, agility, or magic by 3, this orb gives as much as 12 bonus stats. Considering that leveling up once only gives 3 points, this is the same as leveling up 4 times before even hitting level 2. It is a broken item, and there is nothing as cost-effective as this in all the 50 floors. Our boy doesn't hesitate. He brings the glowing green marble to his lips and swallows it whole. A gulp sound effect echoes as the mana integrates into his body. He opens his status window. Name, Kong Jinhyuk. Level 1. But look at those stats. Strength 5, Agility 6, Vitality 7, Magic 5. And he still has 12 points to dump. He looks like a god in the making. He declares to the empty room that he is officially the strongest level 1 to ever walk the earth. 1 hour later, the internet is absolutely losing its mind. A news headline flashes across a screen, First Mangrove of Greed clear. The video is set to upload in 10 minutes and the chat is already a war zone. For Dollar says it is crazy that someone defeated that. Red Hair PC Room is in disbelief. Babamba asks how much of a pro you need to be to kill that thing. Rabbit Princess thinks he just got lucky, claiming her brother is a top player and said it was impossible. The chat is exploding with toxicity and all. Our boy is sitting back in his room, typing away on his keyboard. Most of the comments are calling him a cheater or lucky. But then the video drops. The mosaic covers his face as he dances around the vines with impossible grace. The reactions change instantly. KDC 123 just says wow. Heisenbus is crying. Feck 91 is speechless. Succeeding the Throne asks if he hacked the game. Babamba points out how he is changing the trajectory of attacks with a simple piece of wood. Rabbit Princess is humbled, admitting she cleared the 7th floor but is nothing compared to this. Meanwhile, on his main account, the notifications are a flood of greed. Park Ho-shik, a director of a massive corporation, offers a down payment of 10 billion won and 100 million won every month. Dog Dragoon says they will give him as much money as he wants. Our boy just stares at his phone, a drop of sweat on his cheek. Was it really that amazing, he wonders. He knows the mangrove isn't easy at level 1, but it isn't something to be this surprised about. He realizes he shouldn't be using his own insane standards to judge the rest of the world. He thinks about the money. 10 billion. He remembers his old life, a life that was hard to even earn a living with. He looks at his cramped room, the webcam on his monitor, the cheap desk. He used to be late on rent and had to starve for days just to afford the food for his mukbang streams. He is shown stuffing his face with burgers and fried chicken while looking miserable. If he was given this offer yesterday, he would have accepted in a heartbeat. But now, things are different. He doesn't plan to share his knowledge for 1 or even 10 billion won. The most important thing right now is his next destination. He is typing on his phone, his face set in a grim line. The moment the game updated, leaking mana from the Tower of Trials spread throughout Seoul. The tower looms over the city like a dark monolith, surrounded by swirling purple clouds. Artifacts outside the tower became holy artifacts. Of course, most were replicas or copies since the originals are inside the tower. But our boy knows a secret. The National Museum of Korea is the place where you can get the most replicas. It is basically a treasure chest with countless artifacts stored within it. The problem is that he isn't the only one aiming for them. Unlike the mangrove which appeared in 7 locations, there is only one museum. People will be gathering from every region, including former top players. He arrives at the museum under a full moon. The building is massive and dark. It is quieter than he expected. He wonders if no one is here yet. He pushes open a door and steps inside. His eyes widen. A charred, blackened corpse lies on the floor, smoke still rising from its remains. Someone got here before me, he realizes. As he thought, The world has changed and people are adapting faster than he expected. But the gap between expectations and reality is larger than anyone could imagine. People have gotten really bold in only a day. He looks at a map on the wall. What they are aiming for is probably the artifact kept in the medieval classical era gallery. The artifact that everyone who came here aims to obtain is the Great Map of the East Land. It is an old, weathered map of Korea, but now it is imbued with magic energy. It contains information about the Tower of Trials, telling you where the mazes and ruins are and what monsters and items are inside. Who wouldn't want this item, he muses. Even though it only gives info up to the 10th floor, it is more than enough to light the hearts of people ablaze. He sees a vision of dozens of hands reaching up into a red light, desperate and greedy. Everyone will want that, and they will miss the really important artifacts obscured by the mud. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes through the hall. "You fucking bastards," someone screams. "Let go, this is mine," another yells. "Let go you fucker." Our boy watches from the shadows as a group of people are brawling on the floor, blood spraying as they fight over a simple vase. The greed has already taken hold, and the real game is just beginning of it. Suddenly, a voice like a crack of thunder echoes through the high-ceilinged hall. Everybody freeze, someone bellows with enough force to make the very air vibrate. We get a massive, jarring close-up of a mouth, teeth bared and tongue visible, as the sound wave ripples outward like a physical blow. You can practically feel the spit flying as this bastard asserts his dominance over the room. The camera pans out to show the bastard responsible for the noise. He is a massive wall of meat stuffed into a white button-down shirt that looks like it is about to burst at the seams. A thick gold chain hangs around his neck, but the real detail is the grotesque, red, fleshy tattoo crawling up his throat like a living parasite. He is holding a poor soul by the collar, lifting him off the ground as if he weighs nothing more than a feather. "Anyone who moves from now on, will die to me," he declares. His eyes are cold, dark pits of pure malice. He is the kind of simpleton who thinks a little bit of mana makes him a god among men. But not everyone is ready to bow down to this trash. A guy in a blue shirt holding a heavy metal pipe looks back with a sneer, his face set in a mask of defiance. "Bullshit," he spits out, his knuckles white as he grips his makeshift weapon. "Nobody here will chicken out from empty threats like that." Next to him, another guy is gripping a blood-stained hammer, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "In fact, if you move as much as a single toe, I will smash your head in," he threatens. The tension in the room is so thick you could cut it with a knife. These guys are desperate, and desperate men do not listen to reason, even when they are staring death in the face. The tattooed bastard just stares at them, a thick vein popping in his forehead as his patience evaporates. "I guess words won't do the trick," he mutters, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl. Suddenly, his eyes glow with a terrifying, malevolent red light. He smashes his fists together, and a shockwave of white energy erupts from his hands, blowing back the dust and debris on the floor. His skin begins to crack and shift, turning a dull, stony gray right before our eyes. His arms are transforming, growing larger and more jagged until they look like they were carved out of a mountain. He is already using a unique ability, a physical transformation that turns his limbs into living, breathing weapons of rock. He lets out a primal roar, "Hi-ya," as the power surges through him, tearing the sleeves of his shirt to shreds and revealing the raw, stony texture of his new form. The crowd is absolutely floored, their bravado vanishing in an instant. He already has a unique ability, someone whispers, their face pale with unadulterated shock. "Shit, that is a bit dangerous," another adds, stepping back into the shadows to avoid being noticed. The bastard stands there, his rock-hard arms steaming as if they were pulled from a forge, looking like a monster straight out of a nightmare. "The map is mine," he growls, his voice vibrating with the weight of his power. "Move." He is radiating a kill aura that makes the air feel heavy and cold, a physical pressure that forces the weaker players to look away. Just when it looks like a bloodbath is inevitable, an old man steps into the frame with the casual grace of someone taking a stroll in the park. He is wearing a simple purple vest over a white t-shirt, his hair a shock of neat white. He looks like he should be at home drinking tea and playing chess, not standing in the middle of a supernatural standoff. "Heh, I can't agree with those words," he says with a calm, almost grandfatherly smile. The bastard is losing his mind at the disrespect. "Hey, old geezer, are you crazy?" he screams, his rock fist trembling with a rage that threatens to boil over. The old man does not even blink, his expression remaining as smooth as glass. "My name is not Old Geezer, it is Min Young-woo," he explains patiently, as if he were teaching a child. "Live life with kindness and friendship, is what the name means." The bastard is done talking, his ego bruised by the old man's lack of fear. "Did I say I wanted to give introductions?" he roars, his face turning a dark, ugly shade of purple. "Read the mood and get lost. That crusty neck of yours, I will wrangle it off like a chicken's neck." The old man just sighs, looking genuinely disappointed in the youth of today. "Your mouth is dirty for someone so young," he muses, his eyes sharpening. "You have got a knife for a tongue." The old man raises his hand, spinning a small, thin object between his fingers with practiced ease. "However," he continues, his voice turning cold as a winter grave, "which do you think is faster, for you to break my neck, or for me to turn you into coal?" A tiny, flickering spark appears at the tip of his finger, and then, in a heartbeat, it erupts into a swirling vortex of orange and yellow flames. The heat is so intense it distorts the air, sending ripples of thermal energy through the gallery. This is not just a trick, this is high-level magic, the kind that turns men into memories. The bastard's eyes go wide as saucers, the realization of his mistake hitting him like a freight train. "Magic," he stammers, the rock on his arm starting to crack and flake away from the sheer intensity of the heat. "Catch," the old man says simply, his voice devoid of any emotion. He flicks his finger, and a pillar of fire roars forward like a hungry dragon. It is a beautiful, terrifying sight, a column of pure destruction that swallows the bastard whole before he can even raise his arms to defend himself. He does not even have time to scream before the flames turn him into a silhouette of pure agony. The fire is so bright it washes out the entire room in a hellish, golden glow, casting long, dancing shadows against the museum walls. When the smoke finally clears, there is nothing left of the arrogant bastard but a charred, blackened skeleton standing in the middle of the hall, smoke rising from its empty eye sockets in thin, wispy trails. The skeleton stands for a moment of silence before collapsing into a pile of ash and bone. "It was your tongue that brought you misfortune," the old man says, his back already turned to the carnage as he walks away without a second glance. A young girl in a school uniform and a puffer jacket walks up behind him, her expression bored. "Man, fire-type magic really is hot, huh," she says, a playful, cat-like smirk on her face. "I am glad I decided to join forces with you." The old man looks over his shoulder, his eyes softening slightly. "Oh, Miss Lee Yuri, did you get the goods?" he asks. "I will leave my back to you." She adjusts her backpack, her eyes shining with a hidden, violet power that hints at something far more dangerous than a simple student. "Leave it to me," she replies, her voice light and airy. She starts walking forward, her footsteps echoing in the now silent museum as the other players watch her in terror. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a small, black statue of Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of the dead. "I just need this guy," she says, holding it up for everyone to see. "If anyone gets in the way, he will take care of it." She taps the top of the statue with a delicate finger, and it begins to pulse with an ominous, rhythmic purple light. Dark, thick smoke starts to pour out of the relic, swirling around her like a living, breathing shadow. The smoke solidifies, growing taller and wider until it towers over everyone in the room like a monolith of death. A massive, muscular figure with the head of a jackal emerges from the darkness, its skin as black as the void. It is wearing ornate golden armor that glows with ancient, pulsing runes, and in its massive hands, it grips a curved scythe that looks sharp enough to cut through reality itself. The Anubis summon lets out a silent, terrifying pressure that makes the remaining players drop to their knees, their lungs struggling to find air. Its eyes are glowing red slits of pure, unadulterated death. This is a summon that belongs in the higher floors of the tower, a nightmare brought to life in the starting zone. Lee Yuri smiles, but the expression is empty, devoid of any real warmth. "Let us cooperate, okay," she says, her voice sweet but dripping with a hidden threat that promises a slow end to anyone who disagrees. The other players are shaking like leaves in a storm, their weapons forgotten. "Fucking hell," one of them whispers, his voice trembling. "Why are there so many tryhards? They have all awakened already." They realize they are completely outclassed, and standing in the path of a giant. One by one, they drop their weapons in a chorus of defeat. A hammer, a pipe, and a jagged knife clatter onto the floor, the sound echoing through the hall. "I will give up on the map and whatever else, take it all," one guy shouts, his hands raised high in surrender. Lee Yuri clasps her hands together happily, looking like a normal, innocent student again despite the giant death god standing guard behind her. "Thank you," she chirps, her eyes crinkling with a fake joy that is more terrifying than her summon. But then, she notices something that does not fit the scene. She hums, her eyes narrowing as she looks toward the entrance. A lone figure is walking through the wreckage, his boots crunching rhythmically on the broken glass. It is our boy, Jinhyuk. He looks completely bored, his hands shoved deep into his pockets as he surveys the mess with a critical eye. "You have really made a mess of this place," he says, his voice calm and steady, as if you were talking about a spilled drink instead of a pile of corpses. He stops and reaches down, picking up a weathered, brown piece of paper from the floor. It is the map everyone was fighting over, the key to the tower's secrets. "Do you all have no respect for history?" he asks, looking at the artifact with genuine concern. But at least it did not tear. He holds it up to the light, checking for damage, completely ignoring the massive Anubis summon looming over him like a mountain of shadow. Lee Yuri's smile vanishes instantly, replaced by a cold, sharp glare. "Hey, Mr. Fearless," she says, her voice dropping to a dangerous, low whisper. "Do you think I am joking right now?" She points a finger at him, her eyes glowing with violet light. "Get him." The Anubis summon does not hesitate for a single second. It raises its massive scythe, the blade gleaming with a dark purple aura, and lunges forward with blinding, supernatural speed. The air screams as the weapon cuts through the space toward Jin-hyuk's head. Our boy does not even look up from the map, his focus entirely on the ancient paper. He stands there, a massive shadow falling over him as the blade descends to end his journey before it even truly begins. The scythe comes down like a crescent moon of violet death, cutting through the air with a high-pitched whistle that promises a quick trip to the afterlife. Our boy Jin-hyuk just stands there, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, his eyes as calm as a frozen lake in the middle of winter. He does not even look up from the weathered map in his hand as the massive blade descends toward his neck. With a sound like a mountain cracking in half, the scythe hits an invisible wall of pure, concentrated mana just inches from our boy's skin. A massive shockwave of blue energy erupts from the point of impact, rippling outward and shattering the marble floor beneath his boots into a million jagged pieces. Dust and debris explode into the air, obscuring the view for a heartbeat, but when it clears, our guy is still standing there, completely untouched. Lee Yuri is staring at him, her eyes wide and her mouth hanging open in a perfect circle of unadulterated shock. She cannot believe her strongest summon was stopped so easily by a guy who looks like he just rolled out of bed. The crowd of players is losing their minds, their faces twisted with a mixture of fear and awe. "What in the world?" someone gasps, their voice cracking under the pressure of the killing intent filling the room. "What did that guy just do?" another asks, his hands trembling as he grips his useless weapon. "He deflected the spear, is that even possible? He did not even dodge it." They are all staring at Jin-hyuk's hand, expecting to see a bloody stump, but it is perfectly fine, not even a single scratch on his pale skin. "They do not know what my stats are like right now," our boy thinks to himself, a tiny, arrogant smirk playing on his lips as he finally looks up, which is why they are reacting that way. He looks at the massive jackal god looming over him, its red eyes glowing with a frustrated malice. "What are you going to do?" he asks, his voice smooth and cold as a razor's edge. "Your puppy, its only weapon is gone, isn't it?" Lee Yuri flinches as if she were the one who got hit, her pride wounded by the casual disrespect our boy is throwing around. "Who said so?" she stammers, her face turning a bright, angry red as she reaches back into her backpack with trembling fingers. "I have other statues." She pulls out 4 more black figures, her knuckles white as she forces her mana to circulate through her body. A thick, suffocating purple aura begins to swirl around her, the energy so intense it makes the air feel heavy and damp. Artifact, the avatar of Anubis replica, is coming to life. The system message blares in the air, the holographic text burning with an ominous light. "Boo," our boy muses, his expression shifting from boredom to a mild, clinical interest. He watches as 4 more jackal warriors emerge from the swirling shadows, their muscular bodies covered in golden armor that pulses with a dark, rhythmic light. They all grip curved scythes, their jackal heads snapping toward Jin-hyuk with a collective growl that vibrates in the very marrow of everyone present. "How's this?" Yuri screams, her breath coming in ragged, desperate gasps as she stands in the center of her army of death. "Are you still smiling?" She looks like a cornered animal, her eyes darting around as she tries to find a weakness in our boy's defense. Jin-hyuk just tilts his head, his dark hair falling over his eyes as he surveys the 5 statues operating at once. "That's pretty nice," he admits, his voice devoid of any real emotion. Seeing that she can operate 5 statues at the same time with her small mana pool, she's definitely not your average person. He thinks back to the old man who used the fire magic earlier, realizing that the world is quickly filling up with players who have already graduated from being mere newbies. But nice is not enough to bridge the canyon that exists between them. He realizes that if the gap is too large, she won't even be able to comprehend it, so he decides to show her with her own 2 eyes. He reaches into his white jacket and pulls out a weathered, brown scroll that looks like it belongs in a museum itself. The paper is old and brittle, but it crackles with a hidden, ancient power that makes the hair on the back of Yuri's neck stand up. He injects a tiny sliver of his mana into the artifact, and the air begins to vibrate with a low, guttural hum that sounds like a distant thunderstorm. Mana has been injected into the Pinewood Tiger replica, the system announces with a cold, mechanical chime. Suddenly, a roar that sounds like a mountain collapsing echoes through the high-ceilinged hall, shattering the remaining glass in the display cases. The ruler of the mountains is appearing, the system message flashes in a brilliant, golden light. A massive, majestic tiger made of pure energy and ferocity lunges out of the scroll, its paws hitting the floor with the weight of a falling star. It is a beautiful and terrifying sight, its orange fur shimmering with sparks of white electricity and its eyes burning like twin suns. The tiger is twice the size of the Anubis summons, its muscles rippling under its skin like coiled snakes. A mere jackal bares his teeth in front of the ruler of the mountain, our boy says, his voice dripping with a cold, mocking disdain. He reaches out and casually pats the massive beast on its head as if it were a common house cat, and the tiger lets out a low, satisfied purr that sounds like a chainsaw. The jackal warriors hesitate, their predatory instincts telling them to run, but Yuri is too far gone to listen to reason. Eat them up, Jinhyuk commands, pointing a lazy finger at the jackal warriors. The tiger does not need to be told twice. It moves like a blur of gold and black, its speed so great that the human eye can barely follow its trajectory. It slams into the first Anubis summon, its massive jaws unhinging and snapping shut around the jackal's head with a sickening, wet crunch. The summon vanishes into a cloud of black smoke instantly, its mana consumed by the superior predator. The other jackals try to fight back, their scythes whistling through the air in a desperate attempt to find a mark, but the tiger is a force of nature. It swats them aside with its massive paws, its claws tearing through their shadowy armor as if it were nothing more than wet paper. Blood and mana spray across the floor as the tiger systematically dismantles the army of death, its roars drowning out the screams of the terrified players. Lee Yuri is watching her strongest summons being destroyed like cheap toys, her face turning a ghostly, translucent shade of white. No way, she whispers, her knees finally giving out as she collapses onto the cold marble. She clutches her chest, her breath coming in shallow, panicked bursts as the magical pressure from the tiger begins to crush her very spirit. I can't win, she realizes, tears of frustration and fear welling up in her eyes. I thought I drew the strongest cards, but how? Who is this guy? Our boy walks through the carnage, his boots crunching on the fragments of the Anubis statues, his hands shoved casually back into his pockets. The tiger stands guard behind him, its golden eyes fixed on Yuri with a predatory hunger. Jinhyuk stops in front of the trembling girl and looks down at her with a cold, calculating smile that does not reach his eyes. Hand it over, he demands, his voice low and dangerous. What are you asking for all of a sudden? She asks, her voice small and broken, her eyes darting toward her backpack. The mask of Tutankhamun, he says, his gaze locking onto hers with a physical weight that makes her flinch. Yuri grits her teeth, a final, pathetic spark of defiance flickering in her eyes. It's useless in Korea, she spits out, her voice trembling. What are you even going to use it for? Our boy does not bother to answer her with words. He just snaps his fingers, and the tiger leans in close to her face, its hot, metallic breath smelling of ozone and ancient forests. The girl let out a small whimper as the beast's fangs are revealed, each one as long as a dagger. Fine, I will hand it over, she screams, throwing her bag toward him as if it were a ticking bomb. Our boy reaches down and pulls out a brilliant golden mask, the artifact gleaming under the clinical museum lights with a haunting, regal beauty. You have obtained the artifact, the mask of Tutankhamun replica, the system confirms with a satisfied ping. Alright, with this, I have obtained the second artifact, he says, turning the mask over in his hands and checking for any imperfections. Are you aiming for the great map of the East Lands? Yuri asks, watching him with a mixture of terror and a strange, newfound respect. Map? Oh yeah, I forgot about that, he says, looking down at the weathered paper he picked up earlier as if it were a piece of trash. You don't need to worry about that, it is just a side quest for me. He gives the tiger one last, affectionate pat on its massive, furred neck, the beast leaning into his touch like a loyal hound. Keep guarding this area, so that nobody can follow me, he orders, his voice echoing in the now silent museum. The tiger lets out a final, earth-shaking roar that sends the remaining players scurrying for the exits. Our boy turns his back on the mess and starts walking toward the stairs that lead to the upper floors, his silhouette tall and imposing against the dim light. The preparations are done, he thinks to himself, a cold, determined light burning in his eyes. Let's go, to get the strongest skill in the Tower of Trials, and show this world what a real player looks like. The silence of the museum is broken by the heavy, ragged breathing of the old man, a fire mage who looks like he has seen a ghost. This simpleton is sweating buckets, his face lined with deep wrinkles of pure exhaustion and disbelief as he stares at our guy. How is this happening, Lee Yuri? He mutters, his voice cracking with a mixture of fear and confusion as he looks at the carnage left behind. Our boy just stands there, his silhouette sharp against the dim museum lights, his hands shoved into his pockets like he is just taking a casual stroll through a park instead of infiltrating a high-level dungeon. The old man is losing his mind, wondering who this kid is and how on earth he managed to climb all the way up here past Lee Yuri, who was supposed to be the gatekeeper. He looks at Jin-hyuk with eyes wide with suspicion, thinking to himself that there is no way a mere newbie could have bypassed her summons. Then, his gaze shifts to the massive, shimmering blue barrier blocking the path to the inner sanctum. It is a 1-star rank barrier, a wall of pure, concentrated mana that looks like a giant, glowing honeycomb of hexagonal patterns. Oh ho, seems like you know about this, the old man says, his eyes narrowing as he watches our boy approach the barrier with zero hesitation. Jin-hyuk does not say a word. He just reaches out a pale hand, his fingers inches away from the humming, vibrating energy of the shield. The old man warns him that neither physical nor magical attacks work on this thing, clicking his tongue in annoyance at what he thinks is our boy's ignorance. But our boy is not listening to the ramblings of a relic, he is tuned into a different frequency entirely. He lets out a soft, controlled breath, as he focuses his entire being on the barrier, his dark hair falling over his eyes. Suddenly, the world shifts into a spectrum of blue and white as he searches for the spot where the flow of mana diverges, his vision piercing through the magical construct. He is looking for the Karpo, the weak point in the armor of the world, the tiny flaw that every spell possesses. Sweat beads on his forehead, his eyes darting back and forth as the mana swirls around him like a violent, invisible storm. There it is, he thinks, his gaze locking onto a tiny ripple in the energy that no one else can see. Karpo, he whispers, and the name flashes in the air like a command from a king. He turns back to the old man, his expression cold and calculating, the look of a predator who has already won. I think there is a way to destroy this, but there is a condition, he says, his voice smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. The old man flinches, a condition, he repeats, his heart sinking as he realizes he is about to be used. Our boy explains that the old man must be constantly using his flame magic to weaken the barrier from the outside, acting as a catalyst. He needs to be a human battery, pouring every ounce of his power into the wall so Jin-hyuk can slip through the gap. How long would I need to use it for, the poor thing asks, his voice trembling as he looks at his own shaking hands. Until I go inside and come back out with all the necessary relics, Jin-hyuk replies, pointing a lazy finger at himself while the old man gapes in shock. The old man realizes he is being played, a bitter, self-deprecating laugh escaping his lips as he looks at the floor. So you are saying while you are inside, I am just going to stay outside and keep using magic, he asks, the absurdity of the situation finally hitting him. Jin-hyuk does not sugarcoat it, he knows the old man does not trust him, but he reminds him that this is the only way forward. It will be morning soon, and they cannot get out of here without getting anything, can they? I will let you keep the map, after all, I am in need of something else, our boy says, dangling the carrot in front of the donkey with a masterly touch. The old man looks down, his face shadowed by the flickering light of his own internal power, his mind racing. Nothing gained from hard work, he muses, realizing that if he refuses now, all his effort up to this point will be for nothing. Do you promise to hand over the map to me, he asks, one last desperate attempt to secure his prize from this mysterious youth. Of course, Jin-hyuk smirks, his eyes glinting with a hidden malice that the old man is too tired to notice. I wouldn't want to make an enemy out of a high-ranking magic ability user. The old man lets out a long, weary sigh, I guess I will have to trust him because there are no other options left on the table. Very well, then I will trust you this time, he says, his resolve hardening as he prepares to burn his very soul. Then I will be in your care, Grandpa, our boy says, the casual disrespect dripping from his tongue like venom. The old man does not have time to argue as he ignites his power, his body becoming a conduit for pure destruction. The sound of the flames erupting fills the room as a massive pillar of fire explodes from his hands, turning the hallway into an oven. He is pouring everything into it, his face contorted in a mask of agony and effort, his skin turning red from the heat. I will try my best, he screams, the heat making the marble floor crack and pop under his boots. The barrier begins to groan under the pressure, the blue light clashing with the orange fire in a spectacular display of raw, unbridled energy. Jin-hyuk watches, his eyes reflecting the inferno, waiting for the exact microsecond when the mana flow stutters. Here I go, he shouts, his voice cutting through the roar of the flames like a razor. Karpo, He yells again, and he lunges forward like a bolt of lightning aimed at the heart of the barrier. He disappears into the fire, his body a blur as he passes through the weakened spot that only he could identify. The old man is left outside, his teeth gritted, his muscles bulging as he holds the opening with every fiber of his being. Hurry, he gasps, his mana draining at an alarming rate, his vision starting to blur. Jin-hyuk, now safely inside the inner sanctum, looks back over his shoulder with a casual, mocking wave. Alright, I am planning on trying my best, he says, but then his face shifts into a dark, arrogant grin that would chill a dragon. In my own way, of course, he adds, his voice a whisper that the old man will never hear. He turns his back on the fire and begins to walk through the silent, dark halls of the upper floor, where the air is thick with the smell of old paper and magic. It is a graveyard of history, filled with ancient artifacts and forgotten treasures that have been locked away for centuries. He notices that it does not seem like anyone has been here, unlike the lower floors which were crawled over by desperate players. He walks past the annals of the Chosun dynasty, his boots clicking rhythmically on the polished floor, until he reaches a shattered display case. His eyes narrow as he reads the label on the broken glass, the iron sword that has Qianlong inscribed on it. It is gone, the pedestal empty and cold. That guy, he thinks, his mind flashing to his rival who is always one step ahead, he already finished his business here and left. He realizes the barrier was not just to keep people out, but to protect the thief while he worked his dark magic. He is still not trying to risk anything, our boy muses, feeling a spark of genuine competitive rage. But I am sure even you didn't know of this, he thinks, his gaze sweeping over the remaining exhibits with a hidden knowledge. He begins to rummage through the cases, his hands moving with a practiced, lethal efficiency that shows he has done this 1,000 times in his past life. This one, and, he mutters, tossing aside priceless treasures like they were common street trash. That the relic you took is nothing but a second-rate relic compared to what I am about to create, he thinks, his arrogance reaching new, dizzying heights. Then, he stops dead in his tracks, his eyes locking onto a small, unassuming display. Found it, he whispers, his eyes lighting up with a predatory hunger that is almost frightening. He is looking at a string of old, weathered coins sitting on a faded red velvet cushion, glowing with a faint, sickly light. Sangpyeong Tombwa D, the system identifies them, ancient currency from the Chosun dynasty that most players would ignore. To anyone else, they are just old metal, but to our boy, they are the last puzzle piece of a grand design. They are required to make the most powerful skill, he thinks, his heart racing with the thrill of the hunt. He pulls out the other materials he has painstakingly collected, the ceremonial Persian formwork E and the right eye of Tutankhamun's mask B. He holds them in his hands, the air beginning to vibrate and hum with a strange, ancient power that makes his skin tingle. By combining the two relics, he begins, and a blinding golden light erupts from his palms, illuminating the entire room. The system pings with a sharp, mechanical sound that echoes in the silence. Ring, the two relics are reacting. It is a message that only pops up when relics that fit each other perfectly are met in the world. Jin-hyuk looks at the coins, his face illuminated by the growing, pulsating glow of the fusion. And at the same time, it is a message, he thinks, as the coins begin to float in the air, spinning faster and faster. He pulls on the string, snapping it with a sharp, decisive tuck, and the coins scatter into the swirling vortex of light. The system warns him with a flashing red window that he must pay the appropriate price if he wants to continue the process. He does not hesitate for a single second, pouring his mana and his very intent into the fusion, his eyes glowing with power. The three relics begin to spin in a chaotic dance, a vortex of gold and blue energy swirling around our boy like a hurricane. The system pings again, louder this time. Ring, you have successfully combined the relics, against all odds and logic. Jin-hyuk watches as the light condenses into a single point, forming a single, brilliant object that radiates authority. You have acquired the relic, the Eye of Truth SS, the system announces, the holographic text burning with a regal purple and white light. The Eye of Truth is a sleek, black and gold artifact that looks like a stylized eye, glowing with an inner fire that sees through all lies. The obtaining difficulty is SS rank, a feat that should be impossible for a newbie, and the details are absolutely mind-blowing. You are able to browse through others' status windows, and you can tell whether one is telling truth or lying 3 times a day, a power that makes him the master of any negotiation. But that is not all, the system continues, the Eye of Truth is the greatest eye out of the 5 eyes that exist in the entire world. Jin-hyuk holds the artifact, a look of pure, unadulterated triumph on his face as he feels the power flowing into his soul. But there is another reason why I came to the museum today, he thinks, his gaze turning inward to the hidden mechanics of the tower. Another system message appears, diaring, hidden quest completed. You have successfully combined 3 replica relics of B rank or lower to craft an item of S rank or higher. You have met the requirements for the ultimate evolution, the system confirms, and the world around Jinhyuk begins to dissolve into a sea of digital data. His feet lift off the ground as he is enveloped in a pillar of pure, white light that pierces through the ceiling of the museum. You have acquired the inherent ability, fusion over rank, the system blares, the words echoing in the vast, empty space of his consciousness. Our boy floats in the center of the vortex, his white jacket fluttering in the mana wind, his eyes closed as the forbidden power flows into him. Copying and storing the many abilities that exist in this world, and using those skills to create an even stronger skill, he thinks, his voice echoing with a newfound, godlike authority. That is my weapon, the tool I will use to tear down the tower and everyone in it. The memory of the world is being created. Our boy floats in a vast sea of shimmering blue data, his silhouette sharp against the digital storm as the system blares that his inherent ability fusion is finally active. The holographic text hangs in the air, glowing with a regal light that illuminates the dark museum halls. The obtaining difficulty is listed as immeasurable, a rank that would make any other player tremble in their boots, but our guy just takes it in stride. The details are mind-blowing. He is now able to copy and store the inherent skills of others within the memory of the world, fusing them together to create skills of higher dimensions that shouldn't even exist. Our boy looks cold, his eyes sharp as a razor and filled with a dark ambition as he stares into the void of the tower. Meanwhile the old man is absolutely dying out there. This simpleton is screaming hey, his voice cracking with pure exhaustion as he struggles to maintain his power. If you are done, hurry up, he yells, his body hunched over like a broken toy. Sweat is pouring down his face in thick droplets, his white hair is a messy nest of failure, and he is desperately holding back a massive wall of fire that looks like it wants to swallow him whole. I don't think I can hold on for much longer, he screams, his teeth gritted so hard you can almost hear them grinding together. Jinhyuk is just standing there in the shadows, his hands in his pockets, thinking to himself with a chilling calmness, let's see, in order to copy that old man's ability I need to see what to do. His eye starts glowing with a brilliant golden light, a piercing gaze that cuts through the darkness of the museum like a hot knife through butter. The old man is a high-level fire mage, but right now he is nothing more than a human battery, a tool for our boy to use and discard. The system pings with a sharp mechanical sound, diaring. A new window pops up with the copy condition. Min Young-woo has always been hiding his true feelings under a mask. Make him reveal his true feelings. Our boy smirks, that dark arrogant look that tells you he has already won. His lips curl into a predatory grin as he realizes how easy this is going to be. Aha, in other words, I just need to piss him off, he thinks, his mind already spinning a web of manipulation to break the old man's spirit. He is playing this simpleton like a master violinist. The old man is still screaming for him to hurry up, his voice a ragged mess of panic. He is at his absolute limit, his muscles are trembling under the strain of the mana consumption, and the flames are roaring around him in a violent dance of orange and red. Then our boy just walks out of the inner sanctum. He looks bored, like he just finished a tedious chore instead of a legendary heist. We actually didn't need to do it that way, he says, his voice smooth and mocking. The old man is stunned, his eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and growing rage. What do you mean, he gasps, his breath coming in short ragged bursts. Then why did you tell me to use my skill? He looks like he is about to have a heart attack right then and there. Jinhyuk doesn't even look at him, he just says one word, Carpo, and he walks right through the shimmering blue barrier like it is made of nothing but thin air. The hexagonal patterns of the shield just dissolve into digital dust as he passes, his white jacket fluttering in the mana wind. He disabled the force field easily with a Latin dispelling magic, a technique that the old man clearly has no clue about. The old man did absolutely nothing to help, he just stood there wasting his mana like a fool. Our boy is a genius, he intentionally emptied the old man's reserves, just to make him easier to handle. Now he stands before a massive map of Korea. It is a huge artifact, covering the entire wall with intricate details of the tower's floors. Now that I have made preparations, it is time to make him mad, he thinks, his eyes glinting with a hidden malice. I know the tower through and through already, so that means that this map with information up to the 10th floor is useless to me. He pulls out a small silver lighter. The flame is tiny, but it carries the weight of a death sentence. I am not going to give it away, he says, his voice a cold whisper that echoes in the silent room. The old man is losing his mind, his face turning a deep shade of purple as he realizes what is about to happen. What are you doing, he screams, his hands reaching out as if he could stop the inevitable. Jinhyuk just smiles, a look of pure condescension. I don't need this, he says, and he clicks the lighter. The small flame touches the corner of the ancient paper, and the map begins to burn. The paper curls and blackens, the history of the tower turning into smoke and ash right before the old man's eyes. The poor thing screams no, a sound of pure agony as his prize is destroyed. He is devastated, his hopes of reaching the higher floors turning to cinders. Jin-hyuk thinks to himself that if someone else has the map they gain an advantage, and that would decrease the value of the knowledge he worked so hard to keep for himself. Then the best thing to do is to get rid of that possibility entirely. The old man is red with a murderous rage now, his eyes bloodshot and bulging. Why would you burn it? He screams, his voice a guttural roar. You son of a bitch, I will kill you. He is foaming at the mouth, his dignity completely gone. But that is exactly what our boy wanted. The system pings again, the conditions have been met. A blue book appears in the air, glowing with a holy ethereal light that fills the room. You have successfully copied the element of fire rank B. The message reads, and our boy selects save with a casual tap of his finger. The copied skill is stored in the memory of the world, a permanent addition to his growing arsenal. It allows him to control fire and raises his affinity to a level that most mages can only dream of. Not a bad start for a first copy, he thinks, his confidence reaching new heights. The old man is charging a fireball in his hand, his face contorted in a mask of hatred. You will regret this, I will make you pay, he yells. But he is too weak, his mana is almost gone. Jin-hyuk just looks down on him with those glowing red eyes, a look that says he is a god among insects. Did you not comprehend why I burned the map, he asks, and then the element of fire level 1 activates. A massive pillar of flame erupts from our boy, a vortex of heat and light that dwarfs the old man's pathetic spark. It is twice as big and 10 times as hot. The old man is terrified, his jaw drops and his fireball flickers out like a candle in a hurricane. He sees the fire in our boy's hands and realizes he is facing a monster. That is the same skill as mine, but the power exceeds mine greatly, he thinks, his spirit finally breaking. He realizes our guy is not an ordinary player. He doesn't need a map because he already knows every secret the tower has to hide. What exactly are you, he gasps, his voice a mere whimper. Jin-hyuk glares at him, his presence heavy and suffocating. Old man, if you want to climb the tower comfortably you better listen to my words, he says, establishing his dominance with a single sentence. He is the boss now and everyone else is just a pawn in his game. He turns his back on the broken mage and walks out of the museum. The sky outside is dark and heavy with the coming storm. He thinks about the other players. There were only 4 former high rankers that appeared in the museum, including me. Now that the Tower of Trials has become a reality, I understand why they would want to reduce their risk. He stretches his arms up toward the sky, a casual gesture that hides the power coursing through his veins. He looks like a normal kid in a white jacket, but his status window tells a different story. Kong Jin-hyuk, age 27, level 1 unique ability fusion. He has the element of fire and the eye of truth, a combination that makes him the most dangerous man on the planet. Amazing, he thinks, his eyes reflecting the distant lights of the city. I need to gain as many abilities and skills as possible to tear this tower down. He looks back at the old man and the girl Lee Yuri, who is standing nearby looking lost. I will contact you later, he says, his voice carrying a weight of authority that they cannot ignore. Go level up together with the girl downstairs. He has gained his first pawns, tools that he can use as he pleases to further his own goals, but there is still a long way to go and many more skills to steal. He looks at the blue book one last time before it vanishes into his inventory. I need to set my priorities straight and get the abilities I need. I am only one person, so I probably can't make it to every opportunity, but the most important and delicious ones are all mine. He walks down the street, his boots clicking on the pavement, then his stomach lets out a loud rumble. Even a max-level newbie has to eat eventually. Ugh, I am reaching my limit, he mutters, his cool exterior cracking just a little bit. The best thing at times like these is some steaming rice and a bowl of hot soup. He walks into a small restaurant called Jangto Gukbap. The bell above the door rings with a cheerful dowring, but the atmosphere inside is anything but cheerful. The people at the tables are frozen, their spoons halfway to their mouths as they stare at the television in the corner. What in the world is going on, they ask, their faces filled with shock and fear. The news is breaking, the world is changing forever and our boy is the only one who truly knows what is coming next. Corner, the news is breaking and it is not good. The anchor looks stressed, his face tight as he reports on a massive incident at the National Central Museum. At least 23 people are dead and over 50 are injured, and the numbers are only expected to rise as more bodies are pulled from the rubble. This is not just a local tragedy, it is a global catastrophe. The screen flashes images of museums in America, Europe, China, and Japan, all of them showing the same signs of supernatural destruction. The world is literally falling apart and the culprits are clearly after the ancient artifacts stored within these walls. Our boy just sits there, his dark hair casting a shadow over his eyes as he thinks to himself that the players of other countries are finally making their move. They are preparing to climb the tower and they are not playing around. The news anchor is sweating now, his voice trembling as he introduces internal security footage from the museum. The images are grainy and blue, but the horror is unmistakable. We see a massive Anubis-like creature, its jackal head snarling with a primal rage as it towers over the terrified civilians. The creature has glowing red eyes and intricate gold bands wrapped around its muscular arms and chest. Then the footage cuts to a blur of motion, a massive tiger-like beast wreathed in crackling yellow electricity lunging forward with its claws bared. The beast is a nightmare of muscle and fur, its eyes glowing with a murderous intent as it tears through the museum halls. The anchor stammers that it might be hard to believe, but this is real, untampered footage. The people in the restaurant are losing their minds. One guy screams that it is impossible for a person to do something like that, but then another patron points at the screen and gasps, "Wait, isn't that guy the one who came up on the Tower of Trials community forums? He is talking about our boy, the legend who was seen slaying the mangrove in that viral video." They are staring at Jinhyuk now, their eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear as they recognize his movements. Our guy just scratches the side of his head, looking annoyed that his peaceful meal has been interrupted. "I haven't even entered the tower yet and too many people recognize me already," he thinks, his expression turning cold as he realizes he needs to find a way to hide his identity before things get even more complicated. The news continues to drone on in the background, reporting that the government is investigating the Tower of Trials and has already established a new department called the Awakened Association. They are using government workers who have gained special powers to lead the charge. Jinhyuk pours himself a cup of water from a stainless steel pitcher, the clear liquid splashing into the metal cup as he muses that the government is responding much faster than he anticipated. They have already decided to accept this new reality, which is a smart move but an annoying one for someone who wants to stay under the radar. Then a new face appears on the screen, a man in a sharp dark suit with a deep purple tie. He has a prominent horizontal scar across the bridge of his nose that gives him a rugged, dangerous look. "My name is Han Sangjin and I am the chairman of the Awakened Association," he says, his voice booming with authority. Our boy narrows his eyes, staring at the man with a piercing gaze as if he is trying to see right through the screen. Han Sangjin says he is there to recruit those who have awakened, offering a minimum salary of 60 million won and the benefits of a 7th-class government worker. It is a tempting offer for any normal person, a chance to turn their new powers into a stable and lucrative career, but then the chairman adds a caveat. He says that the person who just appeared on the video, meaning our boy, is an exception. He looks directly into the camera, his eyes burning with a hidden agenda as he swears on his name as the president that if Jinhyuk joins them, the government will support him in every way possible. It is a blank check. A public plea for the strongest player to come into the fold. The restaurant erupts in whispers. People saying that such an offer could change anyone's life, but our boy just smirks, a dark and predatory look crossing his face as he realizes that their goal was him all along. "They have been treating me like a complete tool," he thinks, his fingers tapping against the table as he decides that no matter what they offer, he has no intention of joining anyone. In this new world the value of one extremely well-trained individual is higher than that of 100 average people, and Jinhyuk knows he is that individual. He looks at Han Sangjin's face on the screen and thinks that if the man was selected as president, he must have the skills or the experience to back it up. "I really hope it is because he has a nice skill," he muses, his mind already calculating how he can copy and steal whatever power the chairman is hiding. "That way it will be more interesting for me to copy," he thinks with a chilling smile. Then he looks up at the clock on the wall, the simple round face showing that it is almost 7 p.m., the time has finally come. The system pings with a sharp digital sound and a message appears in the air. The Tower of Trials has now been opened. Suddenly the world shifts, the mundane walls of the restaurant dissolving into a brilliant white light as the teleportation sequence begins. When the light fades, our boy is standing in a breathtaking new world. A vast landscape of floating islands and lush green forests under a vibrant blue sky. The architecture is ancient and grand, with massive stone towers and bridges connecting the islands in a way that defies gravity. Waterfalls cascade from the edges of the floating rocks, turning into mist before they hit the ground far below. It is exactly the same as it was before, he thinks, a sense of nostalgia washing over him as he looks around at the other players who have been summoned. They are all screaming and pushing each other. Overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the tower, our boy just stands there with his hands in his pockets, looking like a tourist among a crowd of panicked refugees. It seems like they are all newbies, he notes, his eyes scanning the crowd with a mix of pity and boredom. Then the system pings again, a celebratory message flashing before his eyes. As celebration for entering the tower, you have been provided with 100 coins. a small brown leather pouch appears in his hand, the weight of the gold coins clinking inside. The system explains that coins are the currency used within the tower, and that players can earn more by uploading videos of their accomplishments. You earn 100 coins for every 10,000 views, but there is a premium charge based on the player's status, and a warning flashes in bright red text. All players will only have their first 10,000 views count, so they must be careful about which videos they choose to watch. And if anyone is caught manipulating view counts or cheating, there will be adequate punishment. A glowing red skull icon appears on the screen, a grim reminder that the tower is watching everything. Jinhyuk just smirks, thinking that this is exactly what he was talking about. The broadcast system is the most interesting function of all. He sees holographic screens floating in the air, showing live streams of other players fighting bosses. One screen shows a player called Steel Fists defeating a boss with his bare hands, while another shows a mermaid king using fairy dust. The more famous you become, the more coins you can earn, and the crowd of newbies is already losing their minds. They are screaming that they need to go to the goblin cave to get a good spot for easy farming. They want to clear the tower as fast as possible to stay ahead of everyone else and get rich. Our boy gets bumped by a guy in a suit who is rushing past, but he doesn't even flinch. They are all in such a hurry. He thinks, watching them run toward the danger like lemmings off a cliff. Earning coins should be easy for him since he knows every secret and every shortcut this place has to offer. However, he has no intention of uploading a video first. Sharing the information he knows would be a greater loss than the coins he would gain. He already knows the first thing he has to do, something special that nobody else would even think of. His eyes glow with a dark intensity as he remembers his past life. A flashback shows him in a dark and damp ruin, his younger self holding a flickering torch as he searches through piles of ancient crates and scrolls. While we were clearing the lower 30 levels of the tower, there was a time where we couldn't proceed any further, he narrates, his voice filled with a bitter regret. In order to go to the next level, they needed to look for hidden pieces within the lower levels. And that meant retracing their steps and searching every corner of the abandoned ruins. The walls of the ruin are covered in ancient hieroglyphics depicting battles between gods and monsters. The air is thick with dust and the smell of decay. In the end they found the solution, but it was a hollow victory. Our boy looks down at his hands in the flashback, his face contorted in a mask of self-loathing as he realizes that his character was flawed from the start. For this to be the result we found after all this time, he thinks, his fist clenching so hard that his knuckles turn white. He had devoted everything to this game, years of his life spent growing a character that turned out to be complete garbage. The memory is painful, a reminder of the failure that drove him to this point. A system window pops up in the darkness of the ruin, the text glowing with a haunting blue light. Character deletion. Would you really like to delete your character? The cursor hovers over the yes button, and our boy whispers that he devoted everything to this. The world begins to pixelate into 1,000 shards of light. A flash of white consumes the frame as the past is erased from existence. Next time, I will reach the top, he vows, his gaze piercing through the digital static with a promise of vengeance. The screen fades to a heavy black, leaving only the echo of his ambition in the silence. The scene shifts to a vibrant blue sky. But the memories are still fresh and bitter. Was that already 6 years ago? Our guy muses, his profile sharp and handsome against the horizon. He is wearing a simple dark jacket over a white shirt, looking far too calm for a man standing at the gates of hell. He stands before a monument of death, a massive stone gate that reaches toward the heavens. The architecture is terrifying and grand, rows upon rows of bleached white skulls carved into the pillars, their empty sockets staring down at anyone brave enough to cross the threshold. A system window appears in the air. Name: Labyrinthos, type Labyrinth, difficulty B. The text explains that this is a labyrinth in Crete designed by Daedalus, filled with confusing mazes and numerous different traps made to dissuade the weak from entering. Our boy just stares at it, his hands tucked into his pockets. The cornerstone of getting beyond 30 floors is building your foundation, he thinks, his mind already 10 steps ahead of every other player in the world. The key to figuring that out is within this maze, Labyrinthos. He looks down at the ground, a small smirk playing on his lips as he prepares for the grind. It is like enlisting in the army again, he thinks, a wave of dark humor washing over him. I never thought I would have to go through this again. He reaches out, his hand pressing against a glowing circular seal on the door. Ancient runes flare with a brilliant blue light, humming with a power that vibrates through his bones as the mechanism triggers. Although I hate it, it has a sense of nostalgia, he admits. The massive stone doors begin to groan, grinding open with a thunderous sound that echoes through the surrounding forest. All right, let us go, he says, his silhouette framed by the blinding white light pouring from within the tomb. He steps forward with a heavy stride, the doors closing behind him like the jaws of a hungry beast. Inside, the atmosphere is Ethereal and suffocating all at once, the ceiling is a vaulted arch of dark stone, but it is filled with thousands of glowing blue butterflies, or perhaps they are moths, their wings fluttering with a soft, magical light that illuminates the ancient ruins. This scene, this smell, it is all the same as before, he notes, his eyes scanning the environment with the precision of a master assassin. He reaches up. A single luminescent moth landing on his fingertip, its wings casting a soft glow on his calm face. "It is nice seeing you, luminescent moth," he whispers, but then his expression hardens, his eyes shifting to the shadows ahead where movement stirs. "But who are you people?" he asks, his voice cutting through the silence like a cold blade. A group of players is standing there, looking like a bunch of lost tourists in a place they don't belong. There is a girl in the front with a high ponytail and a pink jacket, her eyes wide and friendly as she steps forward. "Nice to meet you," she chirps, her smile looking a bit too perfect to be real. "We were looking for a place to farm, but decided to come in here before the labyrinth closed," she explains, her hands clasped together in a gesture of feigned innocence. But we cut back to 10 minutes before, showing the ugly truth. The bastard and her crew were hiding behind a thick tree, watching our boy with greedy, calculating eyes. "I know we followed him because there might be something. But isn't that a labyrinth?" one of them whispers. "He went to the labyrinth right after entering the tower. What is he planning?" another asks. "They saw him open the door without a key and assumed he was just a lucky newbie with a hidden item. If someone who was level 1 went in, it must mean that it is not that difficult," the girl thinks, her face twisting into a predatory grin in the shadows of the forest. Back in the present, she is all smiles again. "But do you think that guy will just nicely share the items with us?" her teammate asks. "Of course he won't do that," she thinks, her eyes glowing with a malicious light that she hides behind a blink. "All we have to do is let him have his eternal rest inside the labyrinth." She is a snake, a complete piece of trash trying to play our boy for a fool. "Hello," she says again, stepping closer into his personal space. "While we were hunting, we noticed that the labyrinth door was open, so we entered before it closed. Why not cooperate and clear the labyrinth together?" she suggests, her voice dripping with a fake sincerity that makes my skin crawl. "We can all share the risk of danger together." Our boy just looks at her, his face unreadable and cold. Is she trying to fool me while believing in her numbers, he wonders. Is she the leader? He decides to stop playing games and activates his skill. A golden light flares in his eyes, crackling with electrical energy as the system pings with a sharp sound. "You have activated the Eye of Truth." A detailed status window appears over the girl. Name Park Hannah, age 22, level 1. Her stats are mediocre at best, but her skills are what catch his eye. Level 1 Commune, Level 1 Quick Step, Level 1 Weak Healing. This girl has quite an interesting skill, he notes. The description for Commune pops up in a dark blue box. Can naturally become friendly with anyone, even strangers. This skill can completely erase feelings of discomfort. It is a manipulation tool, a way to lower a target's guard without them even realizing they are being hunted. To copy it, he needs to cooperate with her for at least 240 hours, and then be alone with her. Commune, he repeats internally, his mind already calculating how to steal this power for himself. It will be helpful when dealing with her. Down the road, he decides, a cold smirk hidden behind his hand as he looks at her. The rest of the trash introduces themselves one by one. There is Jang Chul-sik, a guy with messy reddish hair who looks like he has already given up on life. "I quit after playing on the first floor a little," he says, looking bored and useless. Then there is Lee Hai-min, a girl with long brown hair who also played up to the first floor. Jang Mina is next, a girl with short dark hair who is busy blowing a large bubble with her pink gum. She claims to have reached the third floor, looking down on everyone else with an arrogant tilt of her head. Then we have Cheon Min Guk, a guy with blonde hair who looks like a typical arrogant jock. And finally Du Kwang Woo, a nervous-looking guy with glasses who scratches the back of his head. "I have never played Tower of Trials or whatever it is called," he stammers. "It is a first for me as well." Our boy just smiles, a fake, blindingly bright smile that masks his utter contempt for these simpletons. "I am Kong Jinhyuk," he says, his eyes crinkling with a warmth he does not feel in the slightest. Internally he is disgusted by their weakness. They are obviously going to stab me in the back later, so there is no need to remember each of their names, he thinks, treating them like the disposable tools they are. "Then Mr. Jinhyuk," Park Hannah says, sliding up to him and grabbing his arm with a firm grip. She is leaning in close, her eyes sparkling with that forced charm that would work on any normal man. "Up to what floor have you played the Tower of Trials?" she asks, her hand resting on his shoulder as she tries to trigger her skill. Park Hannah has activated the skill level 1 Commune. The air around them fills with floating pink flowers and shimmering sparkles, a visual representation of her manipulative aura. Our boy feels the pull, his face flushing slightly as he looks at her. So you use it like this, he thinks, completely unimpressed by her parlor tricks. If I didn't know about it, I might have become intimate with her. How trustworthy, he mocks her in his head. Please get away, he says out loud, his voice cold as he pulls his arm back with a sharp motion. The girl looks shocked, her eyes wide as she realizes her charm didn't work on this Level 1 newbie. What is with him, she wonders. The commune skill should be in effect. Strange. She tries to recover her composure, her smile wavering at the edges. Then please tell us what kind of monsters are here and their traits. Please, that much is fine, right, she asks, her voice trembling slightly with a mix of fear and annoyance. I can do that much, our boy replies. His gaze fixed on the dark corridor ahead where the shadows seem to be moving, he begins to explain the mechanics of the dungeon, his voice calm and authoritative as if he built the place himself. This labyrinth changes at fixed time intervals, he says, but before he can finish the sentence, the ground begins to tremble violently, a low rumble that vibrates through the stone floor and rattles their teeth. The glowing moths scatter in a panic, their blue light flickering wildly against the walls. What the group screams. Their faces contorted in terror as the walls begin to shift and grind against each other with a screeching sound. What is he saying? Park Hannah gasps, her eyes darting around as the very geometry of the room begins to rewrite itself. A massive stone block suddenly detaches from the ceiling, plummeting toward them with the force of a falling mountain. Someone screams, the sound of rushing air filling the chamber as the trap is sprung. Hannah dodge, a voice yells, but it is too late for her to react properly. She trips over her own feet, her hands scraping against the cold floor as she tries to scramble away from the shadow. The sound of the impact is deafening, a massive crash that sends dust and debris flying everywhere in a thick cloud. The floor beneath them slides away, separating the group in an instant as the labyrinth reconfigures. It stopped, one of them gasps, huffing for air as they crawl through the rubble on their hands and knees. Park Hannah is on her knees, her hair disheveled and her face pale with a fright that she cannot hide. I don't see Mina, Jang Chul Sik yells, his eyes wide with panic as he looks at the empty space where their teammate was standing just seconds ago. To think there is a labyrinth like this on the first floor, he stammers, his voice cracking with a fear that borders on hysteria. Unbelievable. Wasn't there supposed to be nothing special on the first floor other than the ruins, he asks, looking at our boy for some kind of miracle. Our guy just stands there, looking as cool as a winter breeze in his dark jacket, his hands tucked into his pockets as if he is just waiting for a bus instead of standing in a death trap. Haven't you all experienced terrain-changing labyrinths at least once, he asks, his voice smooth and dripping with a casual arrogance that clearly irritates the trash around him. They are so flustered, he thinks, watching them scramble like ants in a disturbed hill. Our boy raises a hand and begins to dust off his shoulder with a slow, deliberate motion, flicking away the debris as if it is the only thing in this room worth his attention. His expression is one of pure boredom, a sharp contrast to the wide-eyed terror of the girl standing near him. Who would experience something like that, she stammers, her green eyes darting around the shadows as if a monster is going to leap out at any second. This is too dangerous for level 1 players, she cries out, her face pale and slick with sweat that mats her brown hair to her forehead. We need to get out of here ASAP, she decides, her voice rising in pitch as the reality of their situation sinks in. She turns to the other girl, her eyes searching for a miracle. Hi Min, can you find the exit, she asks, her hands clenched into tight fists at her chest. You should be able to do that with your skill, but the poor thing just stands there, her head bowed and her long hair obscuring her face. That's, she starts to say, her voice barely a whisper that struggles to reach them through the heavy silence of the tomb. The skill activation was cancelled when the labyrinth was changing, she explains, and as she looks up, we see the tears welling in her eyes, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated dread. Her lower lip trembles as she realizes their only lifeline has been snapped like a dry twig. Then you can't find the exit, she asks, her voice failing her as the weight of the word trapped begins to crush her spirit. We're trapped in here, she whispers, the realization hitting her like a physical blow that leaves her breathless. Our boy just watches this drama unfold with a cold, calculating gaze, his profile sharp against the dim blue light of the dungeon. I was wondering why they entered the labyrinth so confidently, he muses internally, his eyes narrowing as he analyzes their pathetic strategy. It seems like they were only relying on a navigation skill. He looks at them with a mix of pity and contempt, his mind already moving 10 steps ahead of their panic. These newbies must have thought of a labyrinth as a neighborhood supermarket, he thinks, a small, mocking smirk playing on his lips. Well, these idiots aside, it should be showing itself soon, he decides, his gaze shifting toward the dark corridor where the shadows seem to be breathing. But before he can focus on the real threat, the snake Park Hannah snaps. her face twisting into a mask of ugly rage as she glares at our boy. Her teeth are bared and her eyebrows are knitted together in a look of pure malice. "Hey, you," she screams, her voice echoing off the cold stone walls and shattering the silence. She stomps forward, her sneakers clicking sharply against the floor as she closes the distance between them. "Why didn't you tell us about something as important as the labyrinth changing earlier?" she demands, her finger pointing accusingly at his chest. "The walls were flying at us," she yells, her face turning a frantic shade of red as she loses her composure entirely. "We were injured after just frantically dodging the pieces. We almost died because of you," she shrieks, her mouth wide open as she pours all her fear and frustration onto our guy. She is a complete piece of trash, trying to shift the blame for her own incompetence onto the only person who actually knows what he is doing. "That's right, he is hogging all the information," another one of the bastards joins in, the group beginning to circle our boy like a pack of weak dogs trying to act like wolves. "We got separated from Mina because of you," they yell, their faces blurred with anger and desperation as they try to intimidate him with their numbers. Our boy just stands there, his head tilted slightly as he listens to their pathetic barking. "Hey," he says, his voice low and dangerous, cutting through their noise like a razor through silk. His eyes are half closed, looking down at them, with a chilling indifference that freezes the air in their lungs. "Did I ask you to follow me?" he asks, the words falling like heavy stones into a deep well. The girl freezes, her eyes going wide as the pink flowers of her commune skill wither away in the face of his cold reality. "What?" she gasps, her voice small and weak as her bravado evaporates in an instant. "You guys just decided to follow me on your own," he reminds them, his eyes beginning to glow with a faint, predatory blue light that promises violence if they push him any further. "I didn't drag you in here by force." But the blonde jock, Cheon Min Guk, has had enough of being looked down on. "This bastard just keeps talking shit," he growls, his face contorting into a snarl as he reaches for the weapon at his hip. He pulls out a glowing blue bat, the translucent material crackling with digital energy and floating pixels that hum with a magical power. "We're already feeling like shit just being trapped in here," he yells, his grip tightening on the handle until his knuckles turn white. "I didn't like you from the moment we met," he screams, raising the bat high over his head as he prepares to strike our boy down. "Yeah, since things already turned out like this," he begins to say, his eyes bloodshot with a mix of ego and terror. But before he can swing, a sound like the world tearing apart echoes through the chamber, a massive, heavy thud that vibrates through the very marrow of their bones. A giant shadow suddenly eclipses the light, and a massive double-headed axe, black as the abyss and twice as sharp, comes whistling through the air with a terrifying screech. It smashes into the stone wall right next to the group, the impact so violent that it sends a spray of stone shards and dust flying everywhere. The sound effect of the crash fills the frame in jagged, purple letters, screaming of the power behind the blow. The group is frozen in place, their faces pale and their mouths hanging open in shock. Park Hannah covers her mouth with both hands, her eyes wide with a fright that makes her previous anger look like a joke. The guy with glasses is shaking so hard his knees are knocking together, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. "What happened?" someone whispers, their voice lost in the sudden, heavy silence that follows the strike. But then, the ground begins to tremble again, a rhythmic, heavy thud that signals the approach of a titan. A massive, fur-covered foot stomps down into the frame, the weight of it cracking the stone floor and sending a shockwave through the room. The sound of the stomp is written in heavy, red characters that dominate the scene, and then, the beast reveals itself, a massive minotaur, its body a mountain of dark muscle and coarse fur, stands before them. Its head is crowned with two enormous, curved horns that look like they could pierce through steel, and its eyes glow with a malevolent, burning red light that promises nothing but slaughter. It opens its massive maw, revealing rows of jagged teeth as it lets out a roar that shakes the very foundations of the labyrinth. A minotaur, one of them screams, the word dripping with a despair that tells them they are already dead. The group falls back, scrambling away on their hands and knees as the beast pulls its axe from the wall with a sickening grind of stone on metal. The blonde bastard is shaking so hard he can barely hold his glowing bat, his face slick with a cold sweat as he realizes his toy is useless against a monster of this caliber. The minotaur raises its axe again, the weapon looking like a guillotine for giants as it catches the dim blue light of the moths. It swings the massive blade in a wide arc, the air pressure alone enough to knock the weaklings off their feet. "Ku!" the beast bellows, its voice a thunderclap that deafens everyone in the room. It lunges forward with a speed that defies its massive size, its shadow stretching across the floor like a shroud. The group is screaming, a chorus of pure terror as they realize there is nowhere to run. "We're gonna die," they shriek, their faces twisted in the final moments of their pathetic lives. Park Hannah is paralyzed, her eyes fixed on the descending blade as she waits for the end, but our boy is already moving. Out of the way, he says. His voice calm and steady even as death swings toward him. He becomes a blur of motion, his body low to the ground as he slides through the chaos with the grace of a shadow. He is a predator in his own right, his eyes fixed on the beast with a cold, analytical focus that sees every opening. The Minotaur swings its axe down with the force of a falling star, the blade cutting through the air with a white-hot intensity that blinds the onlookers. The impact is deafening, a massive explosion of stone and dust that obscures everything in a thick cloud of gray. The beast looks down, its red eyes searching for the broken body of the human it just crushed, but our boy is nowhere to be found. He has already cleared the distance, sliding across the floor and coming to a stop in a perfect, low crouch behind the monster. He is completely unharmed, his dark hair falling over his eyes as he looks back at the beast with a sharp, dangerous smirk. A system window pings in the air, glowing with a brilliant blue light that cuts through the dust. You dodged the attack, it reads, and our boy just chuckles, a dark, satisfied sound that tells us he is exactly where he wants to be. All right, he whispers, his eyes narrowing as he prepares to turn the hunter into the prey. Another window appears, the text bold and triumphant. You obtained the hidden stat rift. The rift stat is explained in a sleek, black window with glowing borders. It is a stat that reduces the difference between you and an opponent of a much higher level, and increases the difference between you and a weaker opponent. It is the ultimate equalizer, the kind of power that turns a newbie into a god slayer. The narration explains that when fighting an opponent stronger than you, it reduces their level by 1 for every 3 points in this stat. Our boy looks down at his hand, his palm pressed against the rough, cold surface of a stone pillar, his black fingernails catching the light as he processes this new power. He is not just surviving, he is evolving. The Minotaur is not happy about being ignored. It is a mountain of dark fur and rage, its massive horns curved like scythes and its teeth bared in a permanent snarl. Our boy looks up at it, his silhouette tiny compared to the Titan, but his presence is twice as large. After endless trials and errors, this was the only method I could find, he muses, his mind a library of past lives and forgotten strategies. He looks up with a look of pure, unadulterated confidence, his eyes sharp and calculating. The Minotaur roars again, a deafening quiet that fills the air with spit and fury. It swings its axe in a wide, horizontal arc, the blade whistling through the air with enough force to cleave a building in half. But our boy is already moving. He is a shadow in the moonlight, a ghost in the machine. I have already been hit by his attacks tens of thousands of times before, he thinks, and the weight of that experience is visible in the way he moves. He is not guessing. He is remembering. He slides under the massive blade, the wind from the swing ruffling his hair as he passes. Just inches from certain death, stat rift has increased by 0.05, the system pings, and then again, stat rift has increased by 0.05, he is farming the beast, using its own rage to fuel his growth, no matter how strong the attack is, he thinks, his body twisting in mid-air as he evades another overhead smash. It is useless if it doesn't hit. He lands perfectly, his sneakers squeaking against the stone as he looks back at the frustrated monster. Meanwhile, the trash group is watching from the sidelines, their faces pale and slick with cold sweat. The guy with the glasses has his mouth hanging wide open, his eyes bugging out behind his frames as he realizes the sheer scale of the power gap between them and our boy. My God, he whispers, his voice trembling with a fear that goes right to the bone. The girl next to him is just as terrified, her brown hair matted to her forehead as she gasps for air. We were about to go against someone like that, she stammers, her eyes wide with the realization that they almost committed suicide by trying to betray him. I was stupid to think I could kill him and take the rewards, she thinks, her face twisting in a mask of pure regret. I must have been insane, she realizes, her knees shaking so hard she can barely stand. The Minotaur lets out another low, guttural growl, its red eyes fixed on our boy with a singular, murderous intent. But our guy just stands there, his hands in his pockets, looking as bored as if he were waiting for a bus. Slow, too slow, he taunts, his voice smooth and dripping with a casual arrogance that is absolutely infuriating. Since you are swinging like that, are you even trying to hit me? He asks, his eyes narrowing as he watches the beast prepare for another charge. The Minotaur is losing its mind, its breath coming in hot, white clouds of steam as it bellows in frustration. It lunges forward, its massive feet cracking the floor with every step, but our boy is a master of the gamble. He waits until the very last microsecond, the blade of the axe literally grazing the skin of his neck. A small spray of blood flicks into the air, a tiny red arc that marks the risk he is taking. The higher the risk, the higher the reward, he thinks. A dark, hungry look in his eyes. You have just barely evaded a fatal attack. The system screams in blue text. Stat rift has increased by 1. He has done it. He has pushed the limit and come out on top. He crouches down, his fingers touching the floor as he looks at the system windows floating around him. Getting 1 stat point for just a scratch is not a bad exchange, he decides, his thumb brushing against the small cut on his neck. He looks at the blood on his fingertips with a cold, satisfied smile. All right, he says, his voice low and dangerous. It would probably be dangerous if I keep doing this, he realizes, his eyes shifting toward the exit. I should wrap it up, he decides, but then he pauses, his head tilting slightly as he hears the frantic shuffling of the extras. He hums, his gaze landing on the group of cowards who are trying to sneak away. Wow, look at them, he muses, watching them scramble like rats in a sinking ship. The extras are trying to exit the stage, he notes, his smirk widening into something truly predatory. The girl, Hannah, is leading the way, her face a mask of desperation. Hannah, I want to get out of here, one of the others cries, their voice cracking with terror. We will find the exit as long as we follow the walls, she tells them, her hand reaching out as if she can already feel the freedom of the outside world. But then, a voice cuts through their panic like a knife. Where are you guys going? Our boy asks, appearing behind them like a vengeful spirit. They freeze, their hearts skipping a beat as they turn to see him standing there, his silhouette framed by the glowing blue light of the dungeon. He looks at them with a mix of amusement and contempt, his eyes glowing with a faint, unnatural light. If you also want some stats, why don't you guys join me? He offers, his thumb pointing back at the raging minotaur behind him. You will receive a hidden stat if you evade his attacks, he explains, his voice smooth and persuasive. It is easier than it looks, give it a try, he encourages them. But we know he is just playing with his food, we should all share something. So great, no, he asks, his smirk reaching his eyes as the minotaur lets out a roar that sends a shockwave through the room. The beast is not done, it swings its axe again, a massive, vertical strike that splits the air with a terrifying screech. The impact is so violent that the entire panel seems to shatter, stone and dust exploding in a massive cloud that obscures everything. The extras are screaming, a chorus of pure, unadulterated terror as they are thrown back by the force of the blow. Heek, one of them shrieks, falling onto his backside as he tries to crawl away from the carnage. Why would you just stand there doing nothing? Our boy asks, his voice calm and steady even in the middle of the explosion. At least, you should duck or increase the distance, he advises, his shadow looming over the terrified girl on the ground. She looks up at him, her eyes wide and filled with tears, her face pale and covered in grime. Right, you calf, our boy says, turning his attention back to the minotaur. He gives the beast one last, mocking look before he decides he has had enough. He waves a hand casually, a gesture of dismissal that is the ultimate insult to the titan. I will see you later, he says, his voice echoing in the crumbling chamber. Bye-bye, he adds, his figure beginning to fade into the shadows as he makes his exit. The minotaur smashes the wall where he was standing just a second ago, the stone disintegrating under the weight of the axe. But our boy is already gone, leaving the extras to deal with the mess he created. The guy with the red hair is panting, his chest heaving as he stares at the spot where our guy vanished. Min Guk, and even Hi Min, we almost died, too, he gasps. His voice barely a whisper. They are broken, their spirits crushed by the sheer overwhelming presence of the man they tried to cross. Did we lose it? The girl asks, her voice trembling as she looks around the dust-filled room. It won't chase us anymore, right? She hopes, her hands clenched into tight fists at her chest. But our boy is still watching, a small, luminescent moth fluttering near his hand. The dust of the luminescent moth that I touched earlier attracts the minotaur, he explains to no one but us, his eyes cold and calculating as he watches the beast turn its attention toward the remaining players. It will probably continue to chase us, he says. The girl is literally shaking, her eyes wide and pupils dilated as she stares at him like he is the real monster in this labyrinth. She is sweating buckets, a single drop rolling down her pale cheek as she stammers out, "Why are you doing something so crazy?" She just cannot wrap her head around the fact that our guy is playing a completely different game than everyone else. Our boy just gives her this look, this deadpan, half-lidded stare that says she is asking the most obvious question in history. Obviously, to increase my stats, he replies, like he is explaining the weather to a toddler. He goes on to explain his routine, how he rests every time the labyrinth shifts its geometry and recovers his health just to go back into the meat grinder. He reaches down, his fingers grazing the cold, cracked stone floor as he picks up a discarded, broken dagger. The metal is chipped and dull, but in his hands, it looks like a divine weapon. I play with the Minotaur when he comes at me, he muses, and you can almost see the memories of 1,000 battles flickering in his eyes. Efficient, right? He asks, and the irony is just delicious because he is treating a boss monster like a training dummy. The girl is reaching her breaking point, her eye twitching in a close-up shot that captures every vein of her fear. For how long do we need to? She starts to ask, her voice trembling with the weight of the nightmare they are living. Until we escape the labyrinth, our boy cuts in, his gaze fixed on the blade in his hand. For a month, he adds, and the red-haired bastard behind her looks like his soul just left his body. His jaw is practically hitting the floor. 30 more days in this hellish place, he thinks, the words hanging in the air like a death sentence. The two extras share a look of pure desperation, the guy supporting the girl as they decide they have had enough of our boy's insanity. We will go on our own, they declare, thinking they are being smart. If you are not with us, then that means we won't be chased by that monster. They logic it out, but you can see the doubt in their eyes even as they say it. Our boy just puts a hand to his chin, looking thoughtful for a split second. That is true, he concedes, but then that dangerous smirk returns, the kind of smile that makes your blood run cold. But where will you go? He asks, his voice dripping with a mock concern that is just insulting. It is even more dangerous to wander aimlessly, he warns them, and the camera pans out to show the scale of their surroundings. They are standing in this massive, Gothic hallway with soaring arches and shadows that seem to breathe. The two extras look like ants in a cathedral of death. They swallow hard, the sound echoing in the silence of the corridor. Our boy turns his attention back to the trash dagger, turning it over in his hands. It is usable, he decides, his mind already 10 steps ahead of everyone else. As I have said before, I know this labyrinth better than anyone, he boasts, and you know he is not lying. Of course, I know where the exit is as well, he adds, dangling the carrot of survival right in front of their noses. The girl is biting her lip so hard it might bleed, her eyes darting around as she realizes they are completely trapped. There is no way to escape by ourselves, she thinks, the crushing weight of reality finally setting in. She closes her eyes for a moment, resigning herself to her fate. It cannot be helped. Then we will accompany, she starts to say, trying to save face, but our boy is not done playing. Ah, he interrupts, his face suddenly falling into deep shadow, leaving only his glowing, predatory eyes and a row of white teeth visible. Nothing is free in this world, he declares, and the atmosphere shifts from tense to absolutely terrifying. Even buses have fares, he notes, and before she can even blink, he has that dagger pressed right against her throat, the cold steel biting into her skin. The text on the screen screams spit out in a jagged, bloody font, and our boy just grins, his eyes flashing with a blue light that is anything but human. All of your coins, he demands, and you just know he is going to bleed them dry of every last resource they have. Then the scene shifts, taking us away from the damp walls of the dungeon and into the bright, digital world of the surface. We see a video playing. A guy named Myung-hwan is charging forward with a shield, screaming aura as he bashes through a crowd of goblins. He looks like a hero, his movements fluid and powerful as he clears the dungeon. The video is titled Player Hamosu, shortest time clear video, and the comments are absolutely eating it up. Keyboard Warrior says it is seriously amazing, wondering how he managed a solo clear in only 15 hours. Beyonce's Queen is losing her mind, saying she has to go change her underwear because the play was so hot. The view count is climbing past 1.2 million, and it is labeled as a hot, popular video. But then we see the reality behind the screen. Myung-hwan is in a room with his team, laughing his head off. It really worked, he cheers, looking at the screen with a smug, punchable face. See, they just eat this stuff up, he brags to his friends. The notice board is filled with stuff about you, one of them says. And they are all high-fiving and celebrating their little scam. Fighting all those goblins was worth it, they agree. And the guy with the glasses notes that they can get 100 coins from the view count alone. It is all thanks to your hard work, Myung-hwan says, rubbing his nose in that classic arrogant anime pose. People probably think you did it all by yourself. His teammate laughs, explaining how they edited the video to hide the fact that they were providing subtle support and buffs the whole time. There is no way they will find out, they think, but then Myung-hwan's eyes narrow as he spots a comment that ruins his mood. He grunts, looking at a message from a user named Human Bald Male. 15 hours is not that short of a time. The comment reads, someone I know cleared it within 5 hours. Myung-hwan is fuming, calling the guy a party pooper and a mood ruiner. Don't be so depressed, his friend tells him. The world is usually dominated by talented trailblazers, but then a system ping interrupts their little ego trip. A new video has been uploaded to the Hall of Fame. the notification reads, and everyone in the room freezes. Our video's ranking. Myung Hwan stammers, his face turning pale as he looks at the new top spot. The video is titled World's First Plus 10 Successful Item Reinforcement, and it shows a hand holding a glowing, purple blade that is radiating power. Myung Hwan and his team are losing their minds, their eyes bugging out as they scream, "What the hell is this? How can something like this happen?" They just cannot believe someone has already surpassed them in such a ridiculous way. And we are back with our boy, 10 minutes before the chaos. He is standing with his arms crossed, looking like a drill sergeant. "Now, pay attention," he barks at the two extras, "don't stand there like poles and go do your jobs." He is not playing around anymore. "We need to get some moss to sleep on and some firewood to make a fire," he orders, giving them a list of chores like they are his personal servants. "We have a lot to do," he adds, waving them off with a dismissive gesture. The extras are grumbling, their shoulders slumped as they walk away into the dark. "All right, no need to nag at us, we will go," the guy says, but our boy just watches them go with a satisfied smirk, humming a little tune to himself. "Now, should I get started as well?" he asks himself, and he calls out the command, "Store." A massive, holographic blue screen flickers into life in front of him. The words "Welcome to the store" glowing against the dark background. He has 5,000 coins to spend, and he starts scrolling through the inventory with a practiced ease. "Let's see," he muses, his finger tapping against the air as he selects items that look like absolute garbage to anyone else. He picks out some enchanted tarot cards, a worn-down bronze key fragment, and a wooden cartwheel fragment, each one labeled with an F rank. He then buys 10 lottery reinforcement scrolls, each one costing 10 coins. He looks at the pile of junk he just bought and just smirks. They seem like trash that no one would buy. But he trails off, his eyes glowing with that signature blue light. He clicks the yes button on the purchase confirmation, and the system thanks him for his business. "What is important is how you use them," he explains to the empty air. "I will combine these 3 items, he declares, and he holds his hand out as a violent swirl of blue magical energy begins to rotate around him. The wind from the spell whips his hair around his face, and the light is so bright it illuminates the entire chamber. 3 items are being combined, the system announces, and the screen is filled with a blinding flash of white and blue. "Combination successful," it pings, and our boy is now holding a magnificent, golden artifact. It is the goddess of luck, Fortuna's Wheel of Fortune, and even though it is labeled as incomplete, it has an S-rank acquisition difficulty. The description says it increases the luck stat to the maximum for 10 minutes, a one-time use item that is absolutely broken in the right hands. Our boy just stands there in the center of the light, looking like a god of the dungeon. "Success," he whispers, a dark look of triumph on his face. "Luck with restricted range," he notes, knowing exactly how to exploit this mechanic. "If you do not know the maximum range of luck, the work you did to obtain that luck may just become a futile effort," he muses, but he is a pro, however. "I know exactly where that range is," he says, "since I have experienced it throughout my life." He holds up the old, broken dagger and prepares for the gamble of a lifetime. He activates the Wheel of Fortune, and a massive, golden clock face appears behind him, the gears turning with a heavy, metallic thud. "Your maximum luck value has increased," the system screams. And our boy is suddenly surrounded by a storm of golden sparks and purple lightning. He starts spamming the reinforcement scrolls on the dagger, his hand moving in a blur of motion. The probability of a successful reinforcement is normally 0.00000012%, a number so small it is basically impossible. The scrolls are known for their terrible probabilities, but when my luck is maxed out, our boy says, his eyes wide with a manic intensity, probability of success 100%. The text slams onto the screen in giant, red letters, and the room explodes in a cacophony of sound and light. "Reinforcement is successful, reinforcement is successful." The messages stack up on top of each other until they cover the entire frame. Our boy is laughing now, a wild, triumphant sound as he pours every last bit of his luck into the blade. "I will use all of them on this dagger," he shouts, and the final flash of light is so intense it turns the entire world white. When the dust settles, he is holding a weapon that shouldn't exist. "You have obtained old dagger plus 10 max, the system announces. And our boy just stands there, the purple and pink energy of the blade crackling around his hand. He has done the impossible. He has turned a piece of junk into a weapon of mass destruction. A bonus achievement window pops up, glowing with a golden border. "You are the first to create a plus 10 item in the Korean server," it reads, and he is rewarded with another 5,000 coins. This achievement will be remembered forever. And our boy just looks at his new toy with a cold, satisfied smile. The achievement is being posted to the Hall of Fame, a massive, ornate pillar of white marble that stretches into the digital heavens, surrounded by a storm of blue confetti and data particles. It is a sight to behold, a monument to our guy's absolute dominance. Then we see him, our boy Jin Hyuk, standing in the dark, damp corridor of the labyrinth. He is holding that purple, glowing dagger. The blade crackling with pink energy and dark lightning. He gives it a quick, professional swing, the air whistling as the metal cuts through the shadows. I have finally got something usable, he muses, a cold, satisfied smirk playing on his lips. He looks like a predator who just found his claws, and you can feel the power radiating off that piece of reinforced junk. The scene fades into a blinding white, transitioning us into the harsh reality of their current situation, day 10 of this hellish life. The text reads, and we see the two extras, Park Hana and that red-haired simpleton Chol Shik. They are huddled together by a small, pathetic fire. Their faces are gaunt, their eyes sunken with deep, dark circles that tell you they haven't slept in a week. They look like they are at death's door. We made a bonfire out of twigs, the narration tells us, and we see the flickering orange flame struggling against the oppressive darkness of the dungeon. They slept on a bed made of moss, a damp, green patch on the cold stone floor that looks anything but comfortable, and they have had nothing to eat but mushrooms and moss. We see Chol Shik stuffing a raw, red mushroom into his mouth, his expression one of pure disgust. How can you eat that? Hannah asks, her voice trembling with a mix of horror and desperation. She is staring at him with wide, dilated pupils, her hands gripped tight around her knees. Then we see our boy. He is lying on the ground, his back to the fire, looking perfectly calm as he catches some shut-eye. The firelight dances across his black hair, casting long, dancing shadows against the ancient stone walls, but the peace doesn't last. A massive, blue magical circle erupts from the floor, and the Minotaur appeared at the fixed time. The system warns, the beast is a mountain of muscle and fur, its horns sharp enough to pierce steel, its eyes glowing with a murderous red light. The life or death labyrinth changed, and we see the extras screaming, running for their lives as the ground shakes beneath the monster's hooves. But then our boy steps up, he handles it all with a terrifying ease. He moves like a blur, his purple dagger leaving trails of light in the air as he parries the massive beast's attacks. He looks bored, honestly, like he is just swatting away a fly, and that bastard easily handled it all, the extras think, watching him with a mix of awe and pure, unadulterated fear. Back at the campfire, the extras are reaching their breaking point. No more. We will really die at this rate, Chol Shik mutters, his face shadowed with a dark, ugly thought. Yeah, we will just be thrown away after being used by that devil. Hannah agrees, her eyes fixed on Jin Hyuk's sleeping form. They feel like tools, and they hate him for it. Then the screen fills with chat bubbles from the hidden broadcast. Anon 1 asks why they don't just give up since they can't clear the place without him. Anon 6 thinks our boy has been to at least the 10th floor and warns them not to mess with him. Anon 3 calls them newbies and says they are nothing compared to a pro like him. Anon 4 calls Jin Hyuk a psycho, saying it gives them goosebumps how he speaks politely even though he knows they want to kill him. Hannah is reading these comments, her eye twitching as she realizes the viewers are just enjoying their suffering. To think I selected these pieces of trash to support me from outside the tower, she thinks, her face twisting in rage. She looks down, her hair covering her eyes as she seethes. Stop blabbering, she commands the chat. Did you tell my big brother about the situation here? She asks, her voice a low hiss. She is looking for a way out, a lifeline from the Crow Guild. What did the guild say? She demands. But the news is bad. Anon 5 says the guild is investigating but there is no known info about this labyrinth. Anon 6 drops the bombshell that they will need at least 3 weeks to reach her. I have to endure this for 3 more weeks. She thinks, her hand going to her head in a gesture of pure despair. It is too much, she mutters, her spirit breaking. Chol Shik looks over at her, his face bruised and battered. Hannah, what did the guild members say? He asks, his voice cracking. They have absolutely no information, she replies, her voice dead and hollow. Chol Shik looks over at Jin Hyuk, who is still fast asleep. I have been thinking, he says, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, if we kill this bastard and wait in that stone chamber we found until Big Brother arrives. He trails off, the implication hanging in the air like a poison. We can definitely survive through this hell, he decides, his eyes narrowing with a desperate, murderous intent. He reaches down and picks up a large, jagged rock, his fingers gripping the rough surface until his knuckles turn white. Let us get it over with, he thinks, his face contorted with a mix of fear and adrenaline. Everyone dies when their head gets split open, he screams. Internally as he lunges forward, the rock raised high above his head, he is putting every last bit of his strength into this one strike, aiming right for our boy's skull. The scene is tense, the firelight glinting off the stone as it descends, but then, in a flash of movement that is almost too fast to see, Jin Hyuk's hand shoots up, he catches Chul Shik's wrist with a grip that looks like it could crush bone. "Wait," the extra stammers, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. "What?" he gasps, his entire body frozen in shock. That man's reaction speed is monstrous, Hana thinks, her heart hammering against her ribs. They realize in that moment that they have no chance of winning, whether it be a frontal assault or a surprise attack. He will most likely wake up and counterattack the moment you move, they think, the crushing weight of their helplessness sinking in. "Then what are we supposed to do?" Chul Shik asks, his voice trembling as he pulls back. "We can't keep being abused like this," he cries out, his face a mask of frustration and pain. Hana looks at him, a dark, wicked smile slowly spreading across her face. "Who says we will continue being abused?" she asks, her voice dripping with a newfound confidence. She reaches into her bag, her hand rummaging through her supplies. "Don't you know my older brother is part of the Crow Guild?" she reminds him. "He gave me this to use in dangerous situations." She pulls out a long, curved object that glows with a sickly yellow and green light. "It is a deadly poison that can kill 100 trolls with one drop," she boasts, holding it up like a dark treasure, a giant bumblebee stinger. She identifies it, and you can see the malice in her eyes. "If we are doing this, let's go all the way," she decides, her pupils glowing with a faint, eerie light. She is going to kill him with something that he can't handle. No matter how high his stats are. Jin Hyuk is sitting up, looking a bit groggy as he rubs his eyes. "Ah," he sighs, looking down at the wooden board in front of him. "Is it roasted moss and mushrooms again?" he asks, his voice filled with a weary disappointment. "What a combination," he mutters, looking at the pile of brown and red fungi. He picks up a pair of bat bone chopsticks, the white bone looking sharp and macabre in his hand. "It feels like I am in a survival show," he muses, taking a bite. "What else is there to eat here?" he asks, looking over at Hana. "Why don't you catch and eat some bats or moths?" She snaps back, her voice sharp and feisty. "So feisty," Jin Hyuk notes, a small smirk on his face. "Miss Park Hana, can you pass me the water behind you?" he asks politely, and then he turns to the guy, "Mr. Chul Shik, please give me some more mushrooms and moss." The extras are stunned. "You want more?" Chul Shik asks, holding out a wooden spatula. "Some water," Hana repeats, her hand reaching for a plastic bottle on the floor. Jin Hyuk just nods, looking like he is the master of the house while they are his servants. He takes the water and the extra food, acting like he doesn't have a care in the world. He starts eating again, his eyes closed in concentration. The viewers in the chat are losing it. Anon 1 is laughing because he swallowed it. Anon 3 calls him a food snatcher. Anon 7 jokes that his esophagus must feel hot. Hana is watching him with a predatory glare, her eyes fixed on his throat. He ate it, she thinks, her face twisting into a triumphant, ugly grin. She thinks she has won, but then, a sudden sound. Chul Shik drops his spatula, his face turning a pale, sickly gray. He starts coughing, a thick, black liquid spraying from his mouth. He clutches his throat, his eyes wide with agony. "Kiak," he gasps, his body convulsing as he falls to the floor. Hana is horrified. "What is happening?" she screams, her hands flying to her face. "No," she cries out as she watches her partner writhe in pain, black smoke and energy beginning to rise from his body. Jin Hyuk stands up, looking down at them with a cold, detached expression. "Idiot," he says, his voice flat and unforgiving. "Did you think I would carelessly eat whatever you guys give me?" he asks. And the revelation hits Hana like a physical blow. "You knew that it was poisonous," she stammers, her voice barely a whisper. "Yeah," Jin Hyuk confirms. "When I asked you to give me more, I made a quick switch while you guys were distracted," he explains, and we see a flashback of his hand moving with impossible speed, swapping the plates while they were looking away. He played them like a fiddle, and now they are paying the price. He looks at them with those glowing blue eyes, and you can see the absolute lack of mercy in his gaze. He isn't done yet. He pulls up a holographic blue screen, his finger hovering over the interface. "Let's see here," he muses. "Live broadcasts can only be turned on when fighting the boss to go to the next stage," he notes, his voice calm and clinical. "Hidden broadcasts are an illicit act," he declares, and he hits the report button with a decisive click. "If any illicit acts such as viewer count manipulation are caught, appropriate measures will be taken." The system warns, and a confirmation window pops up. If no illicit acts are discovered, the reporter will receive a penalty. Will you continue with the report? Jin Hyuk doesn't hesitate. He clicks yes. You should pay attention to your expression when you are broadcasting, he tells Hannah, his voice dripping with a mock concern. It is so obvious, he adds, and we see Hannah looking absolutely terrified, tears welling in her eyes as she realizes she is caught. You are only at this level, he sneers. His face falling into deep shadow. Park Hannah, what a disappointment, he says. And he clicks the final button, a sharp click echoing in the silence. The system pings, a red warning light flashing across the room. Report confirmed, anonymity has been removed, it announces, and suddenly, the chat is filled with chaos. The number of broadcast viewers is revealed to be only 10, a pathetic number that shows just how small their little operation was. Hannah is surrounded by a ring of red warning text that rotates around her like a cage. She is trembling, her hands clasped together as she stares up at the screen in horror. What happened to them? Where did they go? She screams as the viewers start vanishing from the chat. Crow goes cock has left the chat. Madame Tad also asks what is happening before she too disappears. Jack Bauer is gone. Note 20 screams that someone broke down their front door. The reality of the situation is setting in. Penalty to the involved player has been changed to a harsh fate, the system declares, and the screen turns a deep, ominous blue. The ground begins to shake again, a heavy, rhythmic thud that vibrates through the stone floor. Hannah looks around in a panic, her eyes darting from the dying Chul Shik to the darkness of the corridor. Jin Hyuk just stands there, his hand to his chin, looking thoughtful. He doesn't seem worried at all. A massive shadow falls over them, and we see the Minotaur has returned. It's even bigger and more terrifying than before, its eyes glowing with a manic red light as it lets out a deafening roar that shakes the very foundations of the labyrinth. The beast is charging. The beast is coming, a wall of fur and muscle thundering down the hall, the ground screaming under its weight as those massive hooves shatter the ancient stone tiles. The sound echoes like a death knell through the damp corridors of the labyrinth, and we see the sheer scale of the monster, its horns like ivory spears ready to impale anything in its path. Its eyes are two burning coals of hatred fixed on its prey. Our boy Jin Hyuk stands there, hands in his pockets, looking like he is waiting for a bus while the world ends around him. He is the picture of calm, a stark contrast to the chaos erupting just feet away. The poor thing Park Hannah is losing her mind, her face is a mask of pure terror, sweat beading on her forehead as she clutches her chest, her breath coming in ragged, shallow gasps. You will fight it again this time, right? She begs, her voice trembling with a desperate hope that our guy will save her pathetic hide once more. She reaches out, her hand trembling as she touches his back, her fingers digging into the fabric of his jacket. Hurry, it is getting closer, she whimpers, her eyes wide and dilated with a fear that goes down to her very bones. But our boy just gives her a look that could freeze the sun, a cold, detached glare that tells her exactly where she stands. Miss Park Hannah, you are quite shameless, he says, his voice cold and sharp as a razor, cutting through her frantic pleas. You just tried to poison me, he reminds her, and you can see the blood drain from her face, leaving her looking like a ghost. She stammers, her mouth hanging open as she tries to find a lie that will save her. What do you mean? You were telling me things up until now. She is trying to play the victim, the little snake, but our boy is 10 steps ahead. He has seen through her every move from the very beginning. A blue holographic window pings into existence, glowing with a soft, ethereal light that reflects in his dark eyes. Copy conditions, act with Park Hannah for a minimum of 240 hours, and then the beautiful words appear. Condition has been fulfilled. Jin Hyuk looks at her with those glowing, predatory eyes, his smirk widening into something truly terrifying. Oh, that, he muses, his voice dripping with a mock playfulness. You are no longer needed, he declares, and you can feel the weight of those words crushing her spirit. Hannah is stunned, tears welling up in her green eyes as she realizes the man she thought she was using has been the one using her all along. She is nothing more than a tool that has outlived its usefulness. Wait, you will regret this, she screams, her voice cracking with a mix of rage and fear, her face twisting into an ugly mask of desperation. My older brother is in the Crow Guild, she threatens, trying to use her connections like a shield against the inevitable. But our boy does not give a single damn about her stupid guild or her brother. He has already moved on to the real threat. The Minotaur is upon them, a mountain of shadow and rage that blocks out the light. It swings a massive fist that shatters the floor where Jin Hyuk was standing just a second ago. Stone fragments fly everywhere like shrapnel, dust filling the air in a thick, gray cloud. But our guy is already gone. Moving like a ghost in the dark, his speed is inhuman, a blur of motion that leaves the beast swinging at empty air. Watch carefully from over there, he tells the trembling girl, his voice calm and steady amidst the chaos. Between that stupid guild and me, which you should fear more, he asks, and the hype is real. He draws that purple dagger, the blade crackling with dark lightning and pink energy that illuminates the damp walls of the labyrinth. The metal seems to hum with a bloodthirsty hunger. He lunges forward. A blur of black and purple, his movements are precise, professional, every strike aimed at a vital point with the efficiency of a master assassin. The beast roars, a sound that shakes the very foundations of the dungeon, its breath a foul stench of rot and blood. But Jin Hyuk is already mid-air, his eyes fixed on his target with a singular focus, still too shallow, he notes, his brow furrowed in concentration as he lands a series of quick slashes across the monster's thick, matted hide. The blood that sprays is dark and thick, but the beast barely seems to feel it. It was worth it to raise Rift, he muses, and you can see the power flowing through him, a dark aura beginning to radiate from his body. He is testing his limits, pushing himself to see just how much damage he can do against a foe of this caliber. The ground explodes as the Minotaur tries to crush him with its massive hooves, but our boy is too fast. He is dancing around the beast, a predator playing with its prey. Regardless, I cannot kill it like this, he realizes, his mind, working at 1,000 miles an hour, analyzing every movement, every weakness. If that is the case, I just need to make it so that I can, he decides, and then the system pings again, a sharp, digital sound that cuts through the roar of battle. You have activated LV1 element of fire, and suddenly the room is engulfed in a roaring inferno. Massive pillars of orange and yellow flame erupt from the floor, swirling around the Minotaur like a cage of heat. The air becomes thick with the smell of burning fur and ozone. The beast screams in agony, its fur singeing as the fire licks at its flesh. Qua, it bellows, the sound echoing through the corridors like a dying god, but it is not dead yet. Not even close. The smoke clears and we see the monster standing there, its skin charred and blackened, its eyes glowing with a manic, murderous red light that pierces through the gloom. It is breathing heavily, thick clouds of steam rising from its nostrils as it gathers its strength. The moment that he reveals his trump card, the narration warns, and we see the system window pop up in a flash of red. The guardian of the labyrinth Minotaur has activated LV10 Berserker. The icon is a red hexagon with a black demonic face. And you know things are about to get real. Skill description. The Minotaur's attack power, attack speed, and movement speed increases by 30% for 5 minutes from the moment of activation. It is a beast reborn, a juggernaut of pure destruction that knows no pain and no fear. And then, the unthinkable happens. The monster speaks, human, it growls, its voice like grinding stones and breaking bones. I will rip you to shreds, it promises. Its red eyes fixed on our boy with a terrifying intensity that would make a lesser man collapse, and scatter your pieces all over the dungeon, so that you can never trespass into this dungeon again. It is a declaration of war, a promise of a slow and painful death, and the air itself seems to tremble under the weight of its killing intent. The beast charges again, but this time it is a blur, its speed increased to a level that the human eye can barely follow. It swings its massive axe, a weapon of black iron and green energy that leaves a trail of light in the air. Aiming right for Jin Hyuk's head, our boy does not back down. He raises his purple dagger, the blade glowing brighter than ever as he prepares to meet the charge head-on. His magic power efficiency feels higher than before, he notes, a cold, satisfied smile playing on his lips as he feels the energy surging through his veins. Not bad, bring it, he challenges, his voice a low hiss of excitement, and the two forces collide with a deafening kiang. Sparks fly as the dagger meets the axe. The force of the impact sending a shockwave through the room that shatters the remaining stone pillars and sends dust raining from the ceiling. Kiang, kiang, the sound of metal on metal is constant, a rhythmic song of death that fills the labyrinth. Hannah is watching from the shadows, her eyes wide with disbelief, her hands over her mouth to keep from screaming. How can this be? She whispers, her voice filled with a mix of awe and terror. He is not dodging anymore, but rather blocking by redirecting the force of the attack. She realizes, and you can see the fear in her eyes as she looks at our guy. He is a monster in human skin. It is a boss monster that has activated a skill over level 10, she thinks, her mind reeling as she tries to comprehend the level of power on display. Not even the full force of the Crow Guild could be a match for it. But how can that crazy bastard be laughing in this situation, she wonders, and we see Jin Hyuk, his face illuminated by the sparks of the battle. He is grinning, a wild, ecstatic look in his eyes as he dances through the storm of steel. He is in his element, a warrior who lives for the thrill of the fight. It felt like time had stopped, he muses, and we see a vision of him falling through a dark, starry void. bubbles of light floating around him like lost memories of a life he left behind. I hated the reality that felt like I was at a standstill no matter how much I ran. He reflects, his voice filled with a deep, lingering bitterness that tells you everything you need to know about his past, and felt powerless within this reality where nothing ever changed. He is fighting for more than just survival. I hated the reality that felt like I was at a standstill no matter how much I ran. Our boy reflects as he falls through the endless dark, bubbles of light drifting past him like the shattered pieces of a life he wants to leave behind, and felt powerless within this reality where nothing ever changed. He continues, the weight of his words matching the heavy descent into the abyss. Then the screen flashes with a cold, red finality. You died, it screams in bold letters, reminder of the stakes in this twisted game, whether it be reality or a game, their difficulties are both hell, he muses, but then a spark of hope appears in the gloom, a bright white light that promises a new beginning, but, the text hangs there, pregnant with possibility, and then the system pings with a beautiful sound, Rift stat points obtained, 57, it is the first step toward godhood, and we see our guy in the middle of a frantic dash. His body a blur of motion as he cuts through the air, his face is set in a mask of pure determination, the hoodie he wears fluttering behind him like a cape. He looks back with a sharp, confident smirk, his eyes glowing with a predatory light that tells you he is finally in control. This world, he declares, his voice filled with a newfound power that resonates through the very fabric of the dungeon. This world responds to me, he says, and you can feel the hype building as he raises his weapon, the purple blade crackling with energy that illuminates the dark corridors. Kiang, the sound of metal on metal echoes as he parries a massive blow, sparks flying like tiny stars in the gloom. Rift stat has increased by 0.05, the system notes, and our boy is just getting started. He moves with a grace that defies logic, a shadow dancing between the heavy strikes of the beast. The ground shatters under the force of the Minotaur's attacks, green energy leaking from the cracks in the stone. But Jin Hyuk is already mid-air, his eyes fixed on his target. He lands a series of lightning-fast slashes, the purple energy of his dagger leaving trails of light in the air. Kowu, the beast bellows, its voice a mixture of rage and pain, but it is not backing down. You are full of cheap tricks, human, the monster growls, its red eyes burning with a manic intensity. You can only make scratches on my body, it mocks, its massive form looming over our guy like a mountain of muscle and fur, but our boy just smirks, his movements becoming even more fluid, even more lethal. He is a master at work, a professional who knows exactly how to take down a titan. He lands softly on the stone floor, his breathing steady despite the intensity of the fight. Tack, his feet hit the ground with a quiet finality, and then the system pings again. The guardian of the labyrinth Minotaur's LV-10 berserker skill has ended, it announces, and you can see the shift in the battle immediately. 5 minutes have passed, Jin Hyuk notes, his voice calm and cold. The beast is stunned, its massive body trembling as the penalty sets in. You, impertinent, it stammers, its voice cracking with a mix of disbelief and fury. The narration explains the mechanics of the skill, how it allows a monster to exert power beyond its limits for 5 minutes, but carries a heavy price, a suspended state for 24 hours. The Minotaur is helpless now, a giant waiting for the slaughter. Who, man, it gasps, its strength failing as it collapses to the floor. Jin Hyuk just stands there, humming a little tune as he checks his stats, 57 Rift stat points. He muses, in terms of levels, the gap will be reduced by 19 levels. He is calculating his path to the top with the precision of a grandmaster. 20 days left, he notes, his eyes cold and focused. I can easily reach my objective of 100 points in that time, he declares, and then we see the passage of time. 20 days later, the sounds of battle are constant, quang, quang, the heavy thud of blows echoing through the labyrinth. Jin Hyuk is training, his body becoming a weapon of pure destruction, a right horizontal slash, he predicts. Moving before the beast even swings, Rift stat has increased by 0.015, and then a low slash. He continues, his movements a perfect counter to the monster's predictable rage. Rift stat points obtained, 100, the system finally pings, and our boy lets out a satisfied breath. Finally, got it, he says, his voice dripping with a dangerous satisfaction. The Minotaur roars one last time, a desperate, final cry of defiance. Kowo, the beast lunges, its massive hand reaching out to crush him, but Jin Hyuk is already gone. A ghost in the machine. Anyway, why does it feel like you are getting weaker as time passes? He asks, his voice a mock whisper that cuts through the monster's roar. Must be my imagination. He scoffs, his smirk widening into something truly terrifying. He stands over the fallen beast, his foot planted firmly on its head. Time to say goodbye, calf, he declares, and you can feel the weight of his killing intent, but then he turns his attention to the real trash in the room. Now, I guess the only thing left is how to dispose of you, he says, looking at Park Hannah with a gaze that could wither a forest. The poor thing is trembling, her face a mask of pure terror. Dispose, she stammers, her voice small and broken, but our boy is in a playful mood. We will now begin recruiting interns for our veteran company, he announces, his voice bright and mocking. Intern, she asks, her mind reeling as she tries to understand the game he is playing. You are lacking enthusiasm, he notes, his eyes narrowing. I guess you are not interested, he muses, turning away as if to leave her to the monsters. I am, please let me join, she screams, her desperation reaching a fever pitch. I have always wanted to enter this company, she lies, her voice cracking with fear. Good, what a passionate applicant, Jin Hyuk says, turning back with a cold, calculating smile. Then, hey, race a question for you, tell me what you have to offer that can benefit the company, he demands, looming over her like a judge. Sociability, she stammers, her mind racing for anything that might save her. My exclusive skill commune will definitely be of use for the management of the company, she pleads, but our guy is not impressed. It is not exclusive anymore, he notes, his voice flat and bored. What else, he asks, his gaze piercing through her lies. I will never betray you, she promises, her eyes wide and pleading. That is it, there is nothing else you have to offer, he asks, his disappointment palpable. What a disappointment, he sighs, and you can see the fear in Hannah's eyes as she realizes she is running out of time. Wait, she screams, her voice a shrill cry of desperation. Braham's ring, she blurs out, and finally, our boy is interested. I will give you Braham's ring, she promises, her breath coming in short, frantic gasps. My brother said he will be negotiating with China as payment for offering them Korean ginseng. So please spare my life, she begs, her hands trembling as she clutches her chest. Jin Hyuk pauses, his mind working through the implications. Braham's ring is going to fall into the hands of the Crow Guild, he muses, and we see a vision of the ring, a beautiful gold band set with a glowing red gem, one of the best items you can obtain on the first floor. It increases movement speed, grants magic resistance, and even has the ability to suppress the magic power of monsters. It has 3 useful options, the narration notes, and you know our boy wants it. He activates his skill. You have activated LV1 Eye of Truth, the system pings, and his eyes glow with a piercing yellow light that sees through every deception. Park Hannah's words are the truth, the system confirms, and Jin Hyuk lets out a low, dark chuckle. It does not seem like she is messing around, he thinks, his smirk returning with a vengeance. Congratulations, you have passed and have become an intern of the veteran company, he announces, patting her on the shoulder with a mock friendliness that makes her skin crawl. I am saved, she thinks, tears of relief welling up in her eyes, but she has no idea what she has just signed up for. Our company does not give wages to interns, he informs her, his voice cold and uncompromising. You must come running to me whenever I call you, wherever you are, he commands, holding up 3 fingers to emphasize his point. I don't care, whether it be 3 a.m. or if you are on Jeju Island. So keep that in mind, he warns, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that demands absolute obedience. Now, most importantly, time to fill out a contract, he says, his voice dripping with a mock playfulness. A contract? I have to fill out something like that, she asks, her confusion returning, but Jin Hyuk is already moving. You have read the memory of the world, the system notes, and our boy begins to channel his power. Yes, of course you do, he says, his hands glowing with a mixture of yellow and orange energy. Skill commune and skill element of fire begin to swirl around him. The 2 skills will be combined, the system announces, and the air becomes thick with heat and power. It will get a bit hot, he warns, his face illuminated by the roaring flames. You have obtained Brand of Tribulation, the system pings, and a blue holographic icon of a hand with a flame appears. That is the contract, she asks, her voice trembling as he reaches out for her. Did you think you would put a seal on some piece of paper or something? He mocks, his face a dark silhouette against the brilliant blue light of the skill. Congratulations for entering our black company, intern, he says, his voice a low hiss of triumph. Wait, she screams, but it is too late. The brand is engraved on her face, a permanent mark of her servitude. The narration explains the brand How the branded subject must obey your commands and is restricted from any actions that can harm you. If the subject breaks this restriction, their entire body will ignite in flames under excruciating pain. It is a fate worse than death, and our boy has her exactly where he wants her. Then, the massive doors of the labyrinth begin to open, a brilliant white light pouring into the room. I see light. Hannah gasps, her eyes wide with wonder. You are the first to clear the labyrinth on the first floor, the system announces. And the hype is real. We survived. We really survived, she cries. Falling to her knees in the grass outside the dungeon, she looks at the system window with a manic grin. This will be recorded in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. 5,000 coins will be paid to each player who cleared the dungeon. She reads, her voice filled with a desperate joy. Kuhu, I am being rewarded for all my suffering, she thinks, her eyes sparkling with greed, but then a shadow falls over her. In turn, Jin Hyuk calls out. His voice cold and demanding, yes, director, she chirps, turning to him. With a bright, fake smile, hand them over, he commands, his eyes fixed on her coins, and you know the poor thing is about to learn the true meaning of working for a black company. He looks at that open palm. With this, I have over 10,000 coins, our guy notes, his eyes narrowing with a predatory satisfaction as the golden coins flow into his digital wallet like a river of light. There shouldn't be any players at this moment who have more coins than me, he thinks, his smirk widening into something truly dangerous. He is already miles ahead of the competition, and he is not stopping. Get me Graham's ring in 3 days, he orders, pointing a finger right at her face. No, 3 days is too short, she stammers, her mouth hanging open in shock. But our boy does not do negotiations. 2 days, he counters, his eyes glowing with a piercing blue light that tells her the price of failure is death. He clenches his fist, blue energy swirling around his hand with a violent, crackling sound. Woke, the energy flares up, illuminating his face in a ghostly light, and then he reaches out. Chiang. The sound of burning flesh fills the air as he presses his hand toward her. The poor thing can only stare in horror as a glowing orange handprint appears on her face. Yes, he'll get it no matter what, she gasps, her eyes wide and bloodshot, the brand of tribulation glowing on her cheek like a curse. And just like that, our boy has his first slave. The scene shifts to the bustling city, where a massive news screen looms over the streets. In 1 week, the Dangun Guild will mobilize as the representatives of Korea, the announcer declares, his voice booming over the traffic, to clear the third-floor boss monster. He continues, as the screen shows 2 men in suits discussing the strategy. By the Dangun Guild, you mean the top guild in South Korea? The interviewer asks, and the hype is real. Yes, since even the US, Europe and Japan are having a hard time, all the attention has been shifted to South Korea, the expert explains. His face set in a serious mask. Is China still keeping quiet about the matter? The interviewer presses, and the screen shows various guild emblems, a dragon, an axe, a temple, all vying for power in this new world. Yes, rather than hoping for assistance from other countries, wouldn't it be better to look for a way to clear it with our own strength? The expert argues, his eyes tired and shadowed. I think the Dangun Guild is more than capable of clearing it, he concludes. But our boy is watching from the street, his expression one of pure, unadulterated boredom. They're trying to clear the third-floor boss monster after only 1 month, he muses, his eyes sharp and calculating. They're too impatient, he scoffs, his hands in his pockets as he looks up at the towering silhouette of the Tower of Trials. How much do they want to regret it later on? He wonders. His voice a low whisper that cuts through the noise of the city. I understand their impatience, he admits. Looking at the dark, spiraling structure that pierces the clouds, they must want to monopolize the countless resources that exist in the tower, he realizes, but he knows the truth. However, 90 days are given to clear each floor, he notes, as a system map appears, showing the winding paths and the skull icons of the bosses. In other words, there's no need to even go to the second floor, much less the third floor, he explains. His mind working through the mechanics he mastered over 11 years. If you increase the difficulty with weak foundations, when you reach a wall, the pressure felt by the difficulty will be much fiercer, he warns, and we see a vision of the future, a dark, hellish landscape where massive dragons and armored demons slaughter players with ease. A blue-flamed knight stands over a pile of corpses, a giant orc with glowing red eyes raises a blood-stained axe, and a massive black dragon roars into the purple sky. There are no retries after human extinction, the screen screams. In blood-red letters, a reminder of the stakes they are all playing for. For now, let's gather information about what happened during the month, our guy decides, turning away from the news screen, he is back in his apartment, the room dim and quiet, to gain reliable info in a place overflowing with groundless rumors and fake info. I need people I can trust, he reflects, standing in his kitchen as the sun sets outside. He looks at his phone, the battery's dead, he notes with a sigh, sources that Eve known for a while and can trust, he thinks, his eyes fixed on the screen as it flickers to life. He is browsing the Tower of Trials community, scrolling through posts about newly discovered skills like rooting and rising small guilds. As expected, they're the only ones, he mutters, his finger hovering over a search bar. The scene shifts to a bright, modern cafe, where the sun streams through large windows. A woman in a tan jacket and a white shirt walks in, a confident smile on her face, and then we see them, the legends from his past life. Hello, inhuman bald male, a young man with messy gray hair chirps. His real name is Lee Taemin, and he looks nothing like his ridiculous avatar, which was a buff guy in a bee costume holding a Molotov cocktail. In Nuclear Fist of Bulgwang District, a woman with long black hair and a bandage on her cheek declares, her real name is Yuyanua, and she is a far cry from her avatar, a muscular woman in a leopard print bikini punching a man's face in. They've changed a bit from their gaming days, our boy notes, a drop of sweat on his temple as he sits across from them. To think I would meet with the veterans that I played with 2 years ago in the Tower of Trials, he muses, looking at them with a mix of nostalgia and calculation. He activates his skill. You have activated LV1 Eye of Truth, the system pings, and his eyes glow with that familiar yellow light. Name, Lee Taemin, sex, age, 23 years old, level, 11, STR 13, AGI 15, bit 16, mag 21, the window reads, job, none, exclusive ability, Machine King, skills, LV2 sandbox mode, LV2 command, LV2 hacking. As expected, he got the Machine King, our guy thinks, looking at the silver gear icon. It has no real flaws other than its large magic power consumption. It is an exclusive ability that specializes in large-scale battles, he notes, and then he turns his gaze to Yanua. Name, Yuyanua, sex, age, 25 years old, level, 12, STR 25, AGI 22, bit 17, mag 6, her stats are impressive, job, none, exclusive ability, Kyokushin Taekwondo, skill, LV3 Heavenly Flower Cultivation Technique, LV2 Refusal to Retreat, LV2 Magic Power Reinforcement. It's an exclusive ability designed for close proximity tanking and damage dealing, he analyzes, looking at the red fist icon. Since their levels are similar, they must have hunted together. Indeed, they were pretty compatible back in the day as well, he reflects, a small, genuine smile touching his lips. But then the system pings with a new condition, copy conditions. These two people are comrades that you've accompanied for a long time. Once the three of you reach the 20th floor, you can copy Lee Taemin's and Yuyanua's abilities. This is the jackpot he was looking for. Hyung, what are you doing? It's your turn, Taemin asks, leaning forward with a curious look. My name is Kong Jinhyuk. Our boy introduces himself, but then the mood shifts. My nickname is Poop Fart, he admits, his face turning bright red as he covers his mouth in shame. Fuck, why did I name my character that 11 years ago? He curses internally, the embarrassment radiating off him in waves. I'm 27, and I was a streamer on Paprika TV, he adds, trying to move past the humiliation. You were a streamer. I watched Paprika from time to time, Taemin exclaims, his eyes wide with surprise. I'm no longer streaming now, Jinhyuk says, his voice regaining its cool composure. Hyung, you can speak comfortably with us, we've been together for so long in the game, Taemin insists, a bright, friendly smile on his face. Yeah, well, be more comfortable like that as well, Yanua agrees, sipping her coffee with a calm grace. Okay, you'll speak comfortably then, our guy says, his eyes narrowing as he gets down to business. Their social skills are through the roof, he notes, comparing them to the trash he's dealt with before. There were those who tried to use me, he remembers, seeing a vision of a man in a suit with a fake smile, and those who tried to stab me in the back. He recalls, seeing a vision of Hannah with glowing green eyes and a treacherous smirk. I'm tired of dealing with people like them, he thinks, his expression hardening. Although it's my first time meeting them in real life, I feel comfortable, he realizes. Looking at his old friends as they sit around a circular wooden table, Taemin and Yanua told me about the events that occurred during my month's stay in the labyrinth, he narrates. As the scene shifts to a digital globe surrounded by chess pieces, the movements of the representative guilds around the world, the trends of the streamers, he continues, seeing a vision of a dark-haired man holding a glowing blue screen, And, the group that call themselves demons who kidnap people and operate a coin factory, he notes. His voice dripping with a cold fury as he sees a hooded figure with glowing red eyes and a skeletal face. Hyung, you said that you were somewhere else for a month, Taemin asks, leaning in with an intense curiosity. Yeah, Jinhyuk confirms. Then, did you not take the test yet? Taemin presses. Test, our boy asks, his brow furrowing as he digs into a bowl of blue mint chocolate ice cream. The scene shifts to the chaotic streets. Bang, bang. The sound of car horns is deafening as traffic jams the city. People have been flooding to the Tower of Trials ever since it appeared, Taemin explains as they sit in the back of a taxi. However, since the number of casualties increased dramatically ever since the second floor, the Awakened Association restricted entry into the tower to only those who pass their test. He continues, as the taxi passes the massive, dark tower that looms over the skyline like a god. After you pass it, you get this certification code, Yanhua adds, pulling up her sleeve to reveal a black barcode tattooed on her wrist. Awakened Association President, Han Sang-jin, Jinhyuk muses, seeing a vision of a stern man with a scarred face and glowing white eyes. He's using the increase in casualties as an excuse to recruit powerful people hiding in the shadows. He realizes, his smirk returning with a vengeance, if it has come to this, then that fucking system made by the association, I'll exploit it as much as I can. He declares, his teeth bared in a predatory grin. They arrive at the association building, a massive glass skyscraper that reaches for the clouds. A billboard on the side reads, Awakening Test Applicant Recruitment Location, and the crowd is insane. After the appearance of the Awakened Association, players who receive ranks below Frank are deprived of their rights to even climb up to the second floor, the narration explains, showing a clipboard with a big red failed stamp over in Frank. In contrast to that, if you receive a high rank, you will immediately be stormed with calls from the nation and high-ranking guilds. It continues, showing a hero in red armor standing in a spotlight as a crowd cheers below him. Therefore, only 3 kinds of people gather at the test site, those who desperately want the rights to climb the tower. We see a man in a beanie and armor praying with all his might. Please, please give me a good rank. He begs, I'm not even hoping for drank, just give me at least a rank, he pleads, his face wet with sweat and desperation. Those who gathered to estimate the qualifications of those wanting to climb the tower. The narration continues, showing a crowd of reporters with cameras and microphones. Which guild will take this times a rank? One asks, there needs to be some sort of scoop today, another says, and then, those who want to show off those qualifications to the whole world. The narration concludes, as the crowd parts, it's Park Hannah of the Black Crow Guild. Someone screams, as the girl our boy branded walks through the lobby with a cold, arrogant expression. Is she the one who survived the labyrinth? Another asks, her eyes wide with awe. Next to her is Park Hajin, the future of the Black Crow Guild. The crowd whispers, as a tall man with sharp eyes and a gray jacket follows her. But then, someone stops in their tracks. Wait, look behind them. A voice cries out, and the camera zooms in on a man with a buzz cut and sunglasses. Oh my god, Kim Kitai of the Fighting Father Guild is here as well. The crowd erupts in excitement. Kitai looks like a thug, his neck thick and his expression menacing as he takes off his sunglasses. Don't miss a single moment, he growls, his eyes glowing with a faint blue light. Why are there so many people here? He asks, his voice a low rumble of annoyance. Can just anyone take the test now? He mocks, looking around with pure disdain. I think it's because there are many people hoping to strike gold. A man next to him says, but Kitai is not listening. There's no time, so move the people waiting in line, he commands, his face contorted in a snarl. We can't afford to stay here for hours when the reporters are waiting, he barks. I came all the way here because of you siblings, so don't mess up, he warns, his eyes locking onto the Park siblings with a terrifying intensity. You know what will happen if you do, right? He threatens, his voice a low hiss. Please don't worry. Well, do well, Hajin stammers, his face pale with fear. Oof course, Hannah adds, her eyes darting around in terror. Get out of the way, Kitai screams, lunging forward into the crowd. Can't you see someone's trying to pass through? Move to the side, he bellows, shoving people aside like they are nothing. Hurry up, you'll get a beating if you keep dawdling, he threatens, his fist clenched and ready to strike. The crowd is in a panic, people scrambling to get out of his way, but then, he hits a wall. Our boy is standing right in his path, his back to the thug, his expression calm and unbothered. Move, why should I? Jinhyuk asks, his voice flat and cold as he looks over his shoulder with a gaze that could freeze fire. Hyung, these people, Taemin stammers, his eyes wide with terror as he looks at the massive man looming over them. I'm waiting for my turn after getting my number. So why should I move? Our guy asks. The bastard in the gray jacket, Park Hajin, is losing his mind. What the hell, you can't even get rid of one person, he barks, his face contorted with a pathetic rage as he tries to shove his way through the crowd. He reaches out and grabs our guy's black shirt, his knuckles white. I don't know who you are, but you're making a huge mistake, he threatens, thinking he is some kind of big shot. It's not too late, so fuck off now, he sneers. But he has no idea who he is messing with. The crowd is already whispering in fear. Is that person standing up to Park Hajin? One asks, he must want to die. Is he insane? Another mutters, but our boy is just calm. Park Hajin, he muses, looking at the simpleton. Is he the brother that Park Hana was talking about? He decides to check the trash's worth. You have activated LV1 Eye of Truth. The system pings, and our guy's eyes glow with a piercing yellow light. Name, Park Hajin. Sex, M. Age, 26 years old, level 8. The window reveals, his stats are mediocre at best, STR 16, AGI 15, Bit 16, Mag 12, Stat points possessed 0, coins possessed 1580, job none, with an exclusive ability called Critical Strike and skills like Acceleration, Stealth, and Shallow Breathing. What the hell are you staring at? Hajin snaps, feeling the weight of that golden gaze. But then the system shows the real prize. Copy conditions. If you reach maximum friendliness, you can copy their exclusive ability, but if you reach maximum hostility, you can copy one of the subject skills that you want. Oh ho, maximum hostility, our boy thinks, his smirk widening into something truly demonic. This bastard, you're still not getting out of the way. Hajin growls, you think nothing's gonna happen since there are many eyes on us, he threatens, but then the poor thing, Park Hana, walks up, her face pale and covered in sweat. Appa, what's going on? She stammers, but then she sees him, the monster who branded her, and her eyes go wide with a primal terror. This crazy bastard is. Hajin starts to scream, but behind him, our boy is already transformed, his face half-shadowed with a single glowing red eye and a jagged, predatory grin that promises nothing but pain. TM, the sound of a grip tightening fills the air as our guy reaches out. Hajin can only stare in shock, a massive question mark appearing over his head as he realizes he is caught, and then, with a sickening crack, our boy snaps the bastard's finger like a dry twig. Jinhyuk is smiling like a maniac, his eyes filled with a cold, sadistic joy as the light flares behind him. Ak, screams. The bastard Park Hajin let out a pathetic groan, his face twisted in absolute agony as he clutches his hand. The finger our boy just snapped is glowing a nasty red, a physical reminder that you don't mess with a pro. Tat, the sound of his heavy breathing fills the air as he glares up with bloodshot eyes. You, fucker, he wheezes, but our guy Jinhyuk doesn't even give him the time of day. He is just standing there, casually chugging a bottle of water like he didn't just cripple a man in front of a crowd. Gulp, gulp, the water goes down as the crowd whispers in the background, their faces pale with shock. You fucking insect, Hajin screams, his pride hurt way worse than his hand. He lunges forward, a desperate, clumsy strike fueled by pure rage, but our boy is already moving, a blur of black and gray. Everyone get back, someone in the crowd yells. You will get caught up in it, but there is no need to worry about our guy. He is in total control. With a sharp sound, clang, the bastard's attack is deflected, and in the next heartbeat, Hajin is eating the floor. Quackak, he howls, sprawled out on the cold ground while his dagger clatters away. The crowd is losing their minds. He tripped on his own. One asks, did his feet get twisted? Another mutters, they can't even process the speed of what just happened. But then, the atmosphere shifts, the air gets heavy, and the poor thing Park Hana starts trembling. Why is that man here? She stammers, her eyes wide with a new kind of fear. Leave it at that, a deep, booming voice commands, and the crowd parts like the Red Sea. Standing there is a mountain of a man, fighting Father Kim Kitai. He is wearing a dark jacket with a thick fur collar, his arms crossed over a massive chest, looking down at our boy like he is just a pebble in his path. Fighting Father Kim Kitai, Jinhyuk muses, his eyes narrowing. He decides to see what this big guy is made of. You have activated LV1 Eye of Truth, the system pings, but then, a massive red warning flashes across his vision. Fail, due to the level difference being over a fixed limit, the skill activation will be cancelled. Oh ho, so this isn't just some random thug, he must be over level 20, Jinhyuk realizes, since I am still level 1. Kitai looks down, his eyes glowing with a faint yellow light. I didn't know this guy had his nanny with him. he sneers, referring to the fallen Hajin. He is a bit of a handful, but it can't be helped, since he is useful in some ways. Useful, our boy. Repeats, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Is it because he is supplying Korean ginseng to China? The moment those words leave Jin-hyuk's mouth, Kita's face changes, the arrogance vanishes, replaced by a sharp, lethal shock. How do you? He starts to bark, his teeth gritted, but our guy just shrugs. Does the how matter? He asks, his voice dripping with boredom. Can't you ask a more practical question, for example? The method of dealing with the side effect of Korean ginseng. Stop there, Kitai snaps, his patience hitting zero. Ding, the system pings again. Kim Kitai has activated LV3 blackout barrier. Suddenly, the world turns black, a massive dome of dark energy and digital lines swallowing them both, cutting them off from the rest of the world. Young, Yanoa screams from the outside. Her face pressed against the dark wall of the barrier. Jin-hyuk Appa, she cries out, but inside, it is just our boy and the giant. So what you're saying is, you want an exchange with 10 of our monopolized dungeons. Kitai growls, his shadow looming large. How can I be certain whether you even know the information that you claim to know? Oh, a barrier, Jin-hyuk notes, looking around at the shimmering dark walls. He isn't scared, not even a little bit. He knows he holds all the cards. An edible item known for its excellent stamina and magic power recovery, the system explains, showing a glowing image of the Korean ginseng root. However, if you eat it raw, there is a magic power poisoning side effect. We see a vision of a mage suffering, their face dark with veins as the raw power rots them from the inside. You must already be having a hard time due to this side effect, Jin-hyuk says, holding up 3 fingers, but it can easily be dealt with by using 3 items, Corasian's extract, moonlight stone, and most importantly, the mandragora root. He lists them off like he is reading a grocery list. Besides the other 2, you must be having a hard time finding the root, right? I will tell you where you can find them. Well, do you trust me a little more now? Kitai is sweating now, his eyes darting around as he processes the truth. It matches with the information from the guild's research team and the explorers. He thinks, his heart hammering against his ribs. This man, who in the world is he? Well, do we have a deal? Jin-hyuk asks, a confident smirk playing on his lips. Very well, I will play your game. Kitai finally relents, but then he draws his weapon, a massive, golden blade that hums with power. However, if you're playing some poor trick, be prepared. I won't just let it slide. Even for this info, demanding 10 of our most profitable dungeons that we have monopolized is an extremely expensive price. I need to draw the line here. He swings the sword, a warning shot that shatters the ground, but our boy doesn't even flinch. You must be misunderstanding something, Jin-hyuk says, his eyes glowing. With a cold, purple light as a dark aura begins to swirl around him. The one who's offering the opportunity is me. He draws his own weapon, a sleek dagger that pulses with a violent violet energy. The barrier shatters, the dark walls crumbling away as the light of the station returns. Jin-hyuk walks out of the darkness like a god, his coat fluttering behind him. Appa, are you alright? Yanoa asks. Rushing toward him, Hyung, weren't you dragged along by force? The other guy adds, just say the word, I will wipe the floor with all of them. Jin-hyuk just raises his hands, a calm smile on his face. Calm down, I am really alright, he says, looking back at the giant. He was a better listener than I thought, but the drama isn't over. Please wait, the bastard Hajin screams, crawling toward Kitai. Are you just going to let them go? If you give me one more chance, I will go all out. He is desperate. Pathetic, clutching at the fur of Kita's coat, but Kitai has had enough of this trash. He reaches down and grabs Hajin by the throat, lifting him off the ground like a sack of garbage. Kook, Hajin gasps, his legs dangling as Kitai glares at him with pure hatred. He is not someone the likes of you can handle. Kitai growls, his voice like grinding stones. I will make you regret it if you act out on your own again. Got it, Yais. I understand, Hajin wheezes, his face turning blue. Kitai drops him, and the bastard hits the floor with a heavy thud. TSK, Kitai mutters, walking away with his men, leaving Hajin broken and humiliated. What the hell happened inside the barrier? Hajin wonders, his eyes glowing red with a new, dark obsession. How dare you humiliate me to this extent? I will kill you, no matter what. Ding, the system pings, copy conditions met. If you reach maximum hostility with the subject, you can copy one of the subject's skills that you want. Conditions have been met. You have succeeded in copying the skill shallow breathing D. A new icon appears in Jin-hyuk's mind, a silhouette of a face with swirling wind. Shallow breathing passive, acquisition difficulty D. Description, can control breathing capacity and heart rate. the copied skill will be saved in the memory of the world. Our boy just smirks, hearing the murmurs of the crowd behind him. Humph, he scoffs. Well then, shall I take that test now? He walks toward the testing area, the crowd parting for him. OMG, that person, they whisper. He wiped the floor with Park Hajin. We see the leaderboard on a large screen. First Park Hana measurement 1755 rank A, second Han Minhui measurement 989 rank B. Our boy looks at the screen, unimpressed. Oh, did our intern eat some ginseng before taking the test? He muses. Next person please. The tester calls out. The test is simple. You just need to strike the magic stone in front of you. You can use any items or your exclusive ability. This test measures the size of your potential when you strike the magic stone. Jin-hyuk stands before the pedestals, but he isn't looking at the small ones. He walks right past the low-grade stones, his eyes locked on the massive, glowing blue crystal in the center. Mr. Jin-hyuk, that's a mid-grade magic stone, the tester warns, his face pale. Please use this low-grade magic stone. The mid-grade and higher stones don't even budge against normal PEO. But he stops mid-sentence, his eyes going wide behind his glasses. Jin-hyuk has already drawn his dagger, the purple light flaring with an intensity that blinds. The air begins to crackle, a red and black aura exploding from our boy's body as he prepares to strike. The stat rift will be activated to its maximum amount. The system screams in blue text. Shall I see how much my suffering in the labyrinth has paid off? Jin-hyuk thinks, his eyes glowing like twin embers. He swings, the blade cutting through the air with a sound like a thunderclap. Kiang, the impact is cataclysmic. The screen turns white with power as the mid-grade stone begins to shatter under the weight of a true monster. With a deafening roar of power, our boy brings his blade down on the magic stone, the air itself screaming as a massive pillar of red and orange energy erupts from the point of impact. Kiang, the sound of shattering crystal echoes through the hall as the sheer weight of Jin-hyuk's strike forces the ground to tremble. We see the blade buried deep into the glowing blue core, sparks flying like dying stars as the pressure builds to a breaking point. The tester stands there with his mouth hanging wide open, his glasses sliding down his nose as he witnesses the impossible. Unbelievable, he stammers, his face pale and drenched in cold sweat. The majority of people are disqualified since they don't even reach the magic power minimum of the magic stone. But our guy didn't just reach it, he obliterated it. I have never heard of someone cutting the magic stone into two, the man cries out, his eyes bulging as the massive blue crystal splits perfectly down the middle, the two halves falling away. With a heavy thud, suddenly, the system pings with a sound that feels like a victory fanfare. Congratulations, you are shrank. The screen flashes a brilliant blue, displaying the name Kong Jin-hyuk, age 27 years old, and then the number that makes the tester's heart skip a beat. Magic power measurement 20,895, rank S. The poor thing is shaking so hard he can barely hold his tablet. 2 will report this to my superiors, so please wait here, he says. His voice cracking with excitement, he starts tapping away at his screen, desperate to share the news of this monster. But our boy isn't looking for fame. Wait, Jin-hyuk commands, his voice cold as ice. Please postpone that report by 1 week. The tester stops, his finger hovering over the send button. What do you mean by postpone? He asks, looking up with a confused expression. Personal reasons, Jin-hyuk replies, his eyes narrowing as he leans in close. I won't care where you release it. After 1 week, but for now, you keep your mouth shut. The atmosphere in the room turns suffocating, a dark, purple aura swirling around our guy as he looms over the man. But, the tester tries to protest, but the words die in his throat. Jin-hyuk leans in even further, his face shadowed and his eyes glowing with a predatory light. I have learned many things in life, he whispers, his voice dripping with a lethal promise. One of them is, the fist that's close to you is much scarier than the law. That's far away, you get it, right? He draws a sleek dagger, the blade shimmering with a violet light as he points it right at the man's throat. The tester is paralyzed with fear, sweat pouring down his face as he stares into the eyes of a true killer. Yais, he wheezes, his pride completely broken. Jin-hyuk pulls back, the terrifying pressure vanishing as if it were never there, leaving the man gasping for air. The scene shifts as the heavy elevator doors slide open with a mechanical whir. Our boy is leaning against the wall, looking bored as he waits for his next appointment. You are here, he notes, a small smirk playing on his lips. Standing there is the intern Park Hana, her face a mix of frustration and submission. Intern Park Hana, Jin-hyuk says, acknowledging her presence. She reaches into her pocket and holds out her hand, revealing a glowing gold band. I have what you asked for, she mutters. Her eyes downcast, the system identifies the item as Braham's ring, acquisition difficulty A, providing 10 magic resistance. 5% movement speed, and most importantly, 20 exclusive ability suppression. The description says it suppresses monsters' magic power, but our boy has a much better use for it. See, I told you it was possible, Jin-hyuk muses, taking the ring and examining it. We reunited earlier than I expected. Hana is fuming, her face turning a bright red as she points a finger at him, tears of rage pricking her eyes. I kept my promise, so please remove this, she screams, referring to the invisible leash our guy has on her. Jin-hyuk just turns away, waving a hand dismissively. I will decide from your actions, he says, leaving her standing there in a state of pure shock. Outside, the rest of the group is waiting, their faces twisted in disbelief as they look at the results on their own screens. What? You are Frank? Yanoa asks, her eyes wide with confusion. What? How? I was sure you would be higher than us, the other guy adds, looking at Jin-hyuk like he is some kind of puzzle he can't solve. Our boy just shrugs, looking up at the massive skyscraper of the Awakened Association. It's a temporary rank. I am going to get measured again next week, so I will wait and see, he explains, his voice calm and collected. Ah, if it's that, then, the guy mutters, accepting the lie. But Yanoa is still worried. Appa, you have to go to a dungeon for the second test. What are you going to do? She asks as Jin-hyuk pulls open the door of a bright orange taxi. I will have to search for one, he says, sliding into the back seat. Don't worry about me and keep climbing the tower. I will contact you soon. As the car pulls away, the narration explains the rules of the second test. The first test classifies your rank by measuring your magic power, and those who have passed will take the second test. The contents are simple. You just need to clear one of the dungeons in the Tower of Trials. We see a vision of the tower, a massive structure reaching into the clouds. Since the test has no difficulty restrictions, most people choose dungeons with goblins or orcs in them. We see a group of green-skinned monsters with glowing yellow eyes, looking fierce but ultimately weak. However, the one that our boy is going to is the only ruins that exist on the first floor. Even when the Tower of Trials game was released 11 years ago, nor even now when the Tower of Trials appeared in reality, it is a domain that no one has ever cleared. We see a terrifying vision of a dark throne room, skulls piled high in every corner, and sitting on the throne is a beautiful but deadly demon queen with long white hair and a single bat-like wing, her eyes glowing with a crimson light. The Hall of the Depraved. Jin-hyuk arrives at the entrance of the ruins, the air thick with the smell of ancient dust and magic. It's been a while since I was here, he thinks, looking around at the floating rocks and crumbling pillars that defy gravity. Waterfalls of white energy pour from the cliffs, illuminating the dark valley below. But our boy isn't dressed like a hero today. He is wearing a simple blue vest over a black shirt, carrying a massive yellow backpack that looks like it weighs a ton. Hey, Mr. Kong, hurry up and move the luggage. A voice barks from behind him. Suddenly, a blue and red soda can comes flying through the air. Kang, it hits the back of Jin-hyuk's head with a sharp metallic sound. Our boy just stands there, his face shadowed as he endures the disrespect, a small vein popping on his forehead as he realizes the trash he has to deal with. But he keeps his cool, knowing that soon enough, these simpletons will realize exactly who they are messing with.